Open the box, Joe!
All right, good morning, my beauties and bees. As per usual, let me know if our audio is off balance or anything's out of sorts on my layout. Just let me know. Good morning. Mwah. It is. Oh, Henry's outside my door. He wants to come see, but we might see Henry later. Henry's a good guy. We love Henry. Henry is not my dog. Henry is Ben's dog. All right, yeah. I gotta show you all the dress. Look at some sparkles. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah, it's sort of the dress from, it's not really, though. The ones from Mean Girls, they have it's like a latex dress with a Santa belt. But this is adjacent to that with the Santa fur. And yeah, I think it looks smashing on me. My friend Samantha got this for me. I made this new friend here in Las Cruces, and she's been really great. She's we went hiking out to the Paleo Indian caves, and all up into the Oregon Mountains. The Oregon Mountains, by the way, are the mountains that were used in the painting from for the Witches Mountains in the Wizard of Oz. I mean, when I first saw them, these are the Witch Mountains, and I finally got to get out there and go up and climb them a little bit. I didn't go very high up into them, but we did, go around the hiking area. And then, you know, I've been doing some thrifting together and stuff. It's nice to have a doll that lives locally. I look like a rock cat, huh? Yeah. I think that's what they're going for with this. Oh, you didn't see that. I think that's what they were going for with this, like fur line thing to do the kicks. I'm wearing briefs underneath these anyway. It's not a not a big deal, but yeah, Samantha's pretty cool. Yeah, and hopefully I make more friends. We have been the three of us that live here have been doing a lot better here in this city than we were where we lived previously, as far as finding like a nice social niche. There's a Stitch and Bitch thing that Ben's been going to, where they just hang out and like they sew or knit or darn or whatever they're doing at the time, and just kind of hang out and talk. And he's been having a great time doing that. We've been going to some karaoke nights. We went to a couple of Christmas festivals this week. Went to the big tree lighting, and then we went to the Christmas market just last night, right? That was the night before. Yeah. Anyway, we had a lot of fun, and we are going to continue to do stuff. Like today, we got like a Hanukkah thing we're going to. So, trying to get out more. It's hard for me because of certain mental illnesses that I deal with. One of them, the big one that makes it hard, is the agoraphobia. It makes it hard for me to. Sometimes it makes it hard for me to leave my own room. Unfortunately, it makes life hard in general. So, anything. Yeah, New Mexico's better than Texas for sure. I actually love it here. I love the landscape. Not to say that El Paso's all that bad. The problem I have with El Paso is that there's a mountain range running right through the middle of the city. The city's built like a horseshoe around the end of a mountain range. So to get from one side of town to the other can take like 45 minutes. Yeah, each way. So that's 2 hours, not 2 hours. What is it? An hour and a half. Yeah, just to commute, just across town, and something that would be 15 to 20 minutes if it wasn't built around a mountain range. So that's what annoys me about El Paso. But I did like El Paso. Well, there's other things that annoy me about El Paso too. I was in El Paso. I was the air quality. It's the worst air quality in the country. The city with the worst air quality in the country. And also, I was like persistently heckled and stalked when I would try to go walking in El Paso. Like men would like circle the block and like follow me as I walked. It was really creepy. They'd pull over and try to get me to come over to their car and stuff. It was really, it kind of freaked me out. There's one time that Bo, my roommate, he's a big guy, you know, he had to come out there and like scare the guy away because, like I was afraid to go into my onto my property because I didn't want him to know where I lived and keep showing back up. But here in Las Cruces, I haven't been followed or hassled at all. People are just pretty indifferent here, which is nice. It's a nice little city. On days you manage to get out, what's your secret? If you want to share how you manage, otherwise you can DM. No, like mostly what I have to do to leave my space is get like fully into I don't know, into character. It makes it sound weird, but like into the headspace of being on. Like I do it like I'm here, like I'm on camera. Why is my camera blurring now? Because I'm waving my arms around? Probably. is it? Maybe. Yeah, I guess that looks better. My eyes are blurry too. So I like went all out. I got glittery lashes on and everything. I'm doing it all. I like to be glammed, in whatever look, whether I'm goth glammed or just Christmas glammed or just regular glammed. Maybe some like channeling Dolly, or y'all have seen some of my fits and stuff. You know what I'm about. I'm a glam girl, and I like to dress up. Let me check with the comments here. Getting out more and taking breaks from everything is definitely the play. Yeah, so I've kind of cut myself back because of my mental health over the last few months, because things have been kind of deteriorating up here. Just for a while now, unfortunately. I'm working with new meds and stuff, trying to get it under control. But yeah, I've just I've cut myself back on doing the social media or the YouTube stuff. Anyway, to 1 day a week. I just do one live a week now, and it's this one. So if you're catching this live, yay, hello. This is the 1 day of the week that you're sure to get me. And then sometimes I show up for Java and Jugs with Ryan and Ember and the girls on Monday mornings. Sometimes I don't. Depends. I'm like I said, I'm dealing with a lot right now. So sometimes I'll be in there, but other than that, that's the only time you'll really see me live anymore. I do make cuts of the live stream into segments and release those throughout the week too, but none of that's live. It's all like premieres and stuff. Now, once in a blue moon, I will pop into somebody's stream and hang out. Ben does the drinking game show, and I'll pop in there. That was last night, by the way. I did not pop in. I showed up in the side chat, and it looked like a full panel, so I was like, that's a lot of people to deal with. So I just stayed in the side chat with Maya and KC. Jugs and Java and Jugs. Anyway, so I've been trying to do other things and get out into the real world a little bit more. Like I said, well, I'm glad I met Samantha, because she's been taking me out to do stuff, and yeah, of course, Ben's been great. Ben loves to go out and do like community stuff, so he's usually up for it. He did stand-up comedy the other night. I didn't go. I was like, didn't have the spoons to go that night, but he went out and he did some stand-up comedy. It was apparently got some laughs, and it was not his. It was the same material he used when he did it. It did it for the skeptic community, so around here it might not, if it did good, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know if the timer put it up yet or not, but the Purple Rhymes with Orange Christmas Marathon is coming up, and I just want to get people prepared for that. That's I believe it's 48-hour marathon where different channels pass the torch along from one channel to the next as part of a marathon over a 24-hour period. For people who don't have, any place to go for Christmas, or just don't have any place they want to go for Christmas and they want to just hang out with us. I'll be doing my spot. Hold on, I got my time here somewhere. Me and Purple have been talking, so we set it up. It's been a while ago, though. Yeah, on the 24th, 8 to 10 p.m. So the 24th is Christmas Eve, and it's a Wednesday. But I will be here doing like a live from the Hive Christmas special. So as I was talking about earlier, how I kind of stick to the same layout of my weekly schedule, that'll be different. But other people are going to be in there too. So yeah, if you're going to be participating in the Christmas stream, go ahead and shout yourself out and drop your time slot. try to get an idea of how many of y'all are going to be participating in that, and make sure everybody's aware of all the fun places you can go hang out during the holiday. If you don't got any place else to go, or if you're just done with your family stuff and we're still going, come hang out with us. I just found out about this. I said the other night I was thinking about doing a Christmas stream. Yeah, get a hold of Purple Rhymes with Orange and let them know that that you'd like to include your Fireside channel in the marathon, and see if she can squeeze you in. Sounds fun. Hopefully I can take part next year. Yeah, you got some family stuff going on, Vandale. Yeah, that's cool. All right, and then Aunt Jur. Or if you need to pretend you have to go to the bathroom and spend a few minutes with us to get away from the screaming children. Yeah, I used to do that when I'd have to go to my in-laws' place. I would pop in and like different chats and stuff while I was in the bathroom and talk to people live. Ember's doing both days at 11 a.m. Yeah. Oh, I'm right after my unfinished song. So my unfinished song will be passing the torch to me. Sweet. I could probably do RBK. Oh, I'm not sure what's going on there. It's all of, oh, there. Okay, there we go. We're getting into the topics for today. So let's go to the polls. Let's do the polls. Because Bugbot's reminded me that we do cover a topic on this show. We do actually we cover a subject. We cover specific subject matter. Hey Maya, good morning, doll. Love you, girl. Yeah, did you? I don't know if you just got here or not, but it's whoosh all the way down. Hold on, if I can move back a little bit. Maybe. Can you see me? Yeah, a little bit. There we go. It's kind of dark in here, though. I like it dark because I get. And maybe you people who watch The Daily Atheist will sympathize with me about it. I don't know, but I get migraines too. And it helps to keep it dark in here, darker, which kind of fits my aesthetic for most. I'm obviously not right now because I'm all bright, but usually I'm like all gothy and like a horror host is kind of the vibe I try to channel sometimes, especially with CrypticCorner. But anyway, this will be your first stream ever when you do the Christmas stream. Cool. Yeah, Festivus for the rest of us. That's what I'm saying. All right, so this week's poll, we had the metaphysics of the magic lantern pulling 8% of the vote. We had 12 total votes. Then we had the lost city of Z. That's in the somewhere in the Amazon, allegedly, according to the Percy's anyway. And then we had the golem tying with the mystical flowers. But you know what? The flowers have been on this list for a long, long time. I think they've been on here since summer. So we're doing the flowers just because when there's a tie for first, we do the oldest one. We focus on the oldest one. So we are doing the flowers later on in the show for This Week in Weird. But coming up directly after this little intro thing, we are doing CrypticCorner. Now, pulling up the last place here on CrypticCorner was the El Duende, which is like a little Argentinian gnome creature. And then pull it up in third place, getting that bronze trophy, is the Amityville reprise. We're gonna explore the Amityville house, and we're gonna revisit the Warrens too, if you want to crush some grifters with me. And then the Maltese Tiger got 25% of the vote, pulling up second place. Maltese Tiger doesn't actually look as blue as you see here in the image, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when that one comes up. I might change this and just do a cat of a different color for all of them, and just do all the weird colored cats. I think I might do that in the upcoming poll, but I don't know. We'll see. Because I kind of there's not necessarily a lot there when it comes to the Maltese Tiger. but we will talk about it. Don't worry. But we may add some other exotic tiger colors in there too. How does that sound? And then the winner, of course, was the Soviet Apemen. The Soviet Apemen was also the new one on the poll, so you all jumped on that one as soon as it came up. We've talked about it. We talked about it before, but we talked about it on an old show that I used to do called Creation Watch. That's just not. It's not the same thing. I have a first edition hardcover of the Amityville Horror. Found it at the flea market for $1. I used to have a copy of it. I got mine from like a library wholesale thing. We got it with a batch of books. I got some Stephen King books too out of that because it was like a little horror section box, and some Paul's something Saul, but one of his books was really good. I read. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about the Soviet Apemen project, and yeah, I talked about that before when I had the Creation Watch show, because there was conspiracy about this and stuff. So I want to dive into that. Let's get started. I'll see you guys over in Cryptic Corner.
You see, the fact is the war on Christmas is real, but Bill, it's a part of a larger war against Christianity that's being waged around the world. And yeah, it's true, we are not suffering in the same way as Christians who are being martyred in other countries. Not yet anyway, but make no mistake about it. This is all part of the same war, and we've got to push back against it on every front.
Well, I don't understand that statement, because overseas primarily it's Muslim fanatics, jihadists, who are killing and persecuting Christians. But here in the United States, who do you think is behind the movement to diminish Christianity?
Well, I think ultimately, Bill, as a Christian, I believe that it is the kingdom of darkness of Satan who from the beginning...
But who does he...
Could it be Satan?
What I'm about to teach you is going to surprise the socks off of you. Who is St. Nicholas? I'm about to show you who it really is, and it's going to shock you. Nick is a name for the devil.
Could it be Satan?
Saint Nick is another name for Satan.
Satan!
Satan?
Satan!
Saint Nick ain't no saint, is he? He's Satan Nick.
Satan!
This Santa Claus, or is it Satan Claus? That word Santa looks a lot like the word Satan. All you have to do is take the N out and put it on the end, and you've got Satan. Who is Santa Claus? He's the devil. It's the devil. Devil! He's the devil! The devil! Devil! He's the devil.
Could it be Satan?
Satan!
Satan!
Satan is Santa Claus. He loves to put children in hell. Ho, 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 ho! Ho, ho, ho! He knows if you've been good or bad. Santa Claus, you sit on a throne of lies. Ho, 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 ho! Liar! I want nothing to do with Satan Claus. Could it be Satan?
Satan!
Satan! So there it is. Hope you enjoyed this message. Yes!
right, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome once again to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today we are taking our journey to the enchanted land of Soviet Russia, where everything was communist and scary and red, including the topic for today. We're talking about big scary ape men, because apparently there was a plan and several experiments that were conducted to create an ape man army for the Soviets to use to conquer the U.S. in the Cold War. So we could have been battling ape men. And I'm not even kidding. Let's get into it. Let's look. The channel we're watching this on is called A Day in History, and we'll look at them after the video. But we're going to dive right into this. This was like one of my favorite episodes of Monster Quest because it was something new to me, right? It was something I hadn't really experienced before. So the Monster Quest was a show in the early 2000s. I think it ran to 2007. But it was a show. It was about cryptozoology in general, and almost everything on there I'd heard about, had books about. But the Soviet ape men were a new one to me at the time, so I love talking about them because it's I still feel like it's like something I learned as an adult in the magical land of Stalingrad. Yeah, in the Enchanted Kingdom. The Enchanted Kingdom of Siberia. Not a damn thing, because a man is an ape. I'm an ape. You're an ape. I'm sorry. We're all apes. And we're going to have to... I've come to terms with that. I actually kind of enjoy it, the fact that I'm an ape. It gives me these cool opposable thumbs. So I can do pincher grasp and everything. I'm able to climb things with my opposable thumbs. I kind of wish I had posable toes, too, not gonna lie. So that's what's so weird about that X-Men First Class movie, is Beast is a normal dude. He just has opposable thumbs on his feet, and he has super strength and he's super athletic. But other than that, he just has posable thumbs on his feet. But for some reason, he wants to inject himself with something to make those go away, and ends up turning himself into the blue furry guy. But it's crazy to want to get rid of opposable thumbs on your feet. If you have opposable thumbs on your feet, think about how much more you could get done at a time. Yeah. Oh, Ember needs a heating pad. No volume on the video? Okay. We'll fix that. All right.
What separates man from ape? It's a question that has many answers. Is it our intelligence? Is it our ability to speak or use tools? There's several answers, but each answer comes with an assumption that humans and apes are or should be completely separate. But what if they weren't? What if the intelligence of a human could be combined with the savage power of a wild ape? It sounds like the realm of science fiction, but one man would make it his mission to turn it into science fact. This is the story of Ilya Ivanov and his insane quest to create hybrid ape men. Ilya Ivanovich...
Depends on where you want to walk, though, Accurse. If you want to... If we lived in an ape society, right? If we lived... we build our cities more vertically than we do, because we're cursorial. That's the thing. That's the difference. You think about jungle apes, African apes, and orangutans in Asia. They're all arboreal. We're cursorial. We're like cursorial pursuit predators. It's wild. We wouldn't live like that in a society where we kept our divergent toe. We'd probably like build more vertical cities, and like you wouldn't necessarily walk everywhere as much as you would climb everywhere. And I imagine like instead of like sidewalks, there'd just be like beams going all over the place where you just walk on them with your feet, just whoop, 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 whoop. But and then yeah, it'd be kind of fun. A prehensile tail would also be badass. Yes, I wish I had a prehensile tail. If I had a prehensile tail, I'd grab my coffee cup with it and be like, whoosh. So Nightcrawler and Beast both have pretty nifty powers. Just teleport up with shingles and use 3 nail guns at once. Yeah, you could be doing some roofing. They'd make us work even more. Yeah, that's not, you're not wrong. We probably have to you'd be expected to do more output, more ladders. Yeah, we live in chutes and ladders land if we were if we had Latin, if they like figured out a way to like bring out Latin primitive traits in humans, like prehensile tail, opposable thumbs, and stuff like that. If they were going to do anything, though, I would rather them give me my ability to produce my own vitamin C. Can I do that instead of because I think we lost that somewhere along the monkey line, right? Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Oh my gosh. You'd have a lot going for you there. Prehensile tail, though. Hammering with 4 limbs, LOL, no thanks.
Ivanov was born to a wealthy Russian family in 1870. He graduated with a degree in physiology from Kharkiv in 1896 and proceeded to study bacteriology in Paris until 1898. It was over the course of these studies that he became fascinated with the intricacies of reproduction. Back in Russia, Ivanov's
all boys go through that stage, don't they?
attention quickly fell upon artificial insemination for animals. It was a new frontier of veterinary science at the time. Only a handful of
if you have Jason, if you have a article on that, I'd love to read that. Oh my gosh.
Successful artificial inseminations had ever been
recorded. And I guess I got to shout out I'm getting some super chats. Holy crud. Thank you so much, friends. Let's see, I got $5 from Maya, from one woman to another. Support you. Love you, Maya. Thank you. And then we have from Hell's Bells. You're my favorite chaos elf. Mwah. Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Horns. Horns.
But Ivanov wanted to develop it in new ways. His early research focused mostly on horses.
Oh, Jedi, holy shit, I'm sorry, I called you a Jedi. Maybe you used to be a Jedi, but you're a Sith now. Sith, did you see that Tobey Maguire's going to be the Spider-Man that exists in the Doom, Dr. Doom timeline or whatever? Miranda, oh my gosh, $10, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I do mention that Hell's Bells gave 666. Appreciate you.
Since breeding farms were widespread, and a lot of attention was paid to ensure good horses passed on their genes to new generations, Ivanov was met with criticism and moral outrage at first. The Russian Orthodox Church condemned his research as immoral, and the Moscow Agricultural Institute declared it was potentially dangerous as they interfered with the natural process of reproduction. However, for all his critics, he received plenty of support too. In 1900, Tsar Nicholas II noted the potential of Ivanov's methods for breeding horses and gave him a grant of 2,500 rubles. Then in 1908, he received funds to establish a full laboratory for his work. He also received support from many of Russia's leading scientists. These included Russia's first Nobel Prize winner, Ivan Pavlov, whose work on digestion and animal conditioning
We
still
all know Pavlov. Yep.
makes him a household name. And Yuri Filipchenko, the founding father of Russian genetic science. By 1909, Ivanov was teaching his methods to academics and animal breeders, and would personally conduct the artificial process for almost 7,000 horses and over 1,000 sheep by 1914. Thanks to his work, Russia...
That'd be, see, like, and this is the problem with nationalism in general, is that when you have something like the Cold War going on, or this was actually Tsarist Russia at this time, but when you have these isolated kingdoms who try to keep their advancement secret for capitalistic purposes, right? Like, if everybody has access to this information, then we can't sell it for money. So scientific advancements are held back, right? Because of isolationism, especially in the early 20th century. But on up into modern day, too, except for now it's more corporatism that controls scientific advancements and keeps them isolated, as opposed to necessarily government research stuff. But it's all government funded. I mean, we're paying for it. But, like, the advancements that they were making at this time in Russia weren't known to the world because they kept it isolated. And the U.S. does that too with our technology. People are like, why does the U.S. have the best, healthcare in the world? It's like, because we don't share it with the world, because we keep it for ourselves and profit off of it due to our for-profit medical industry. Oh shit, I'm on a tangent now. Oh my gosh, I'm on a tangent now. Yikes.
Was the global leader in the field. But there was another side to his research that was far more disturbing. History remembers the mad scientists, the ones who pushed boundaries without asking if they should. But it forgets the soldiers.
I was gonna sing Santa Baby. Santa Baby, hurry down the chimney tonight. That's what I was gonna sing for ya. Who was asking for a duet? Yeah, John Hudson, sing Santa Baby. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, but not down here in New Mexico. Now, apparently, the mountains do get snow on them occasionally, but it's always gone by the time the noon hits the mountaintops. But apparently it looks really pretty when the Oregon mountains get snow on them.
Who made impossible choices in seconds. The ones who didn't experiment with life, but gave theirs a way to save others. That's why we started Project Dogtag. We refuse to let the most outrageous acts in our history fade into nothing. Our first drop commemorates Lieutenant John.
I love a mad scientist because I can kind of, I get ya. I get where you're coming from. If I could make hyper-intelligent talking dogs, I would too. You wouldn't be able to stop me if I knew that technology was available. Oh, I'm not a good singer either. I wouldn't say that. I love Eartha Kitt though. We were just listening to her sing that the other day. That's what put it in my head. No, nobody can match Eartha Kitt.
On our Fox. In 1944, he called in an artillery strike on his own coordinates. His position in an Italian village was being overrun. Enemy forces closing in. His men trapped. Fox grabbed the radio and gave the order that would kill him because it was the only way to save his soldiers and stop the advance. He didn't hold the line. He became it. We're making only 500 pieces. Each piece serves as a person.
All right, we're watching an ad. They slipped it in so I was so distracted. They slipped it in so easily. Very good. Very good. So we were watching an ad. Yeah, they do up in like the Southern Rockies. The Rockies come down into New Mexico. Albuquerque and Santa Fe are both on the feet of the Rockies. So you can go up there, and yeah, there's ski resorts up there. They get so much snow. I actually drove through snow on my way down here from Illinois when I passed through New Mexico. When I was up in the Rockies, it was like November, like 11th or something last year, and I drove through a snowstorm, and well, not a snowstorm. It was snowing, it was lightly snowing, but there was snow on the ground, like several inches of snow on the ground. They have snow on the ground back up home too, but yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Kelly. It's $4.99. Show Kelly some love. Yeah. Show all my friends some love. Got Lil of all trades. Love you, Bree. Be my Santa. I'll bring a present and put it under your tree. Get a mug of tea on me, says Paul Camish. Paul Camish rules. I haven't seen you in forever, Paul. I hope you're well. Paul is a pilot, and we used to talk about UFOs together all the time. Paul was also a debater, and he's got some good debates up on his channel. So if you're into that, go check it out. This is the $10 one from Give Bree Money. All right. And I'm just making sure I didn't miss any. You all are amazing. My friends are amazing. Love you all. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
.com. Use code.
I got tricked into watching an ad though. So, oh, and KC's here. When did you? Why are you not showing up? So I normally look at the chat in my Streamlabs OBS. So it's set to top chat, so the live chat. So you didn't show up in there. I don't know if it's because you're new to the chat, Casey, or what. But yeah, I see you now. Good morning. Thank you for coming. I got lots of cool people in here this morning.
LTFOX35 at checkout. Link in the description. Artificial insemination was, at its core, a way to make reproduction happen where it wouldn't usually do so. Maybe medical issues prevented normal reproduction, or the two animals the owner wanted to breed just weren't interested. But Ivanov soon realized it could be used for much more. What if it could be used to create pairings from entirely different species? His early tests tried to create hybrids between different types of birds or small mammals. In 1905, he befriended an eccentric nobleman named Friedrich.
And that's not like this is the only way that we get the camel llama hybrids is through artificial insemination like that, because they can't. Like obviously, a camel and a llama are not physically compatible, right?
False Fine, who had turned his 35,000-acre estate in Ascania Nova in southern Russia into the country's largest nature reserve, complete with imported exotic animals. False Fine invited Ivanov to set up a research station there with free rein to conduct whatever experiments he saw fit. Ivanov quickly got to work with the reserve's diverse species. These included ostriches, camels, and even kangaroos. His experiments included the crossing of a zebra and a horse to create a zebroid. Although he was not.
Yeah, and as weird as it is, I like the genetics of hybridization. I like to see how far I can push it. The furthest away that I know that there's two species that have been hybridized were a puma and a leopard that made a puma pard, and they're from different subfamilies because that's the pantherines and the felines, two different groups, big cats and small cats. The cougar is on the small cat side, and the leopard is on the big cat side, but they're about the same size and they fill the same ecological niche, and they're close enough together that they produced a hybrid that was a dwarf. I mean, it very small compared to either side of the family, smaller than like a Florida panther, but it was a hybrid, a puma pard.
Not the first to do this. The zebroid was more capable of doing farm work and load carrying than a zebra, making it an objective improvement in the eyes of farmers or anyone else who might need working animals. But Ivanov wanted to push it further. While speaking at the International Zoology Congress at Graz in 1910, Ivanov speculated that a hybrid could be created between two other closely related animals, humans and apes. The idea of such a combination was morally repulsive to most, but Ivanov had not developed his artificial
And
insemination
humans are apes, just to clarify.
techniques for nothing. It might be possible, he argued, to artificially implant human sperm into a female ape and produce a hybrid with the intelligence of a human being, but the savage strength of an ape. Ivanov left the theory as a mere theory for now. His hypothesis was only barely acceptable in an academic discussion, and there was no way the Tsar, the Church, or the imperial scientific authorities would ever approve such an experiment.
I don't know what YouTube thinks they're doing with this new setup where everybody has an @ with their handle instead of their chosen name or whatever. So people get like numbers behind them and stuff like that. Kind of annoying.
He wouldn't have to worry about their approval for much longer. Every Russian's life was transformed when the revolution erupted in 1917. The political chaos, followed by economic collapse and devastating civil war, halted Ivanov's experiments in their tracks. His noble friend Falsfine fled, and his massive nature reserve was soon abandoned. Ivanov also lost the prestige and funding that had come from the Tsar's support and found himself ejected from the many of his high-ranking positions in the chaos. He was to establish his own central experimentation station of the reproduction of domestic animals in Moscow with the approval of the new Bolshevik Commissariat of Agriculture. But the Bolsheviks had more important things to fund than Ivanov's niche research.
Like Lysenkoism? Hopefully not. Everybody's talking about all the different mountain ranges in the U.S. that are out there. They said the change was meant to distinguish between users. I don't know what that means. I can't tell who's who anymore. Who anyone is anymore. I know, it's kind of annoying. Officially, the @ handles are to make tagging work on mobile like it did on desktop, but while they've messed up our names, they haven't managed that goal yet. Dr. Ivanov, it costs less to teach chimpanzees how to use AKs. Yeah.
Until 1921 for him to even be given enough funding to even purchase equipment to resume his experiments, and he had to go to France and Germany to buy it himself. It was so bad that Ivanov considered leaving Russia altogether, but post-war Europe offered few opportunities. Besides, with the change came opportunity. Years of waiting and theorizing had only fueled his forbidden obsession. Now with the Tsar and the old order gone, he was free of the moral constraints of the past. The Bolsheviks were happy to turn a blind eye to what other people considered to be immoral or unnatural. Ivanov didn't get a laboratory to work with until 1924, but he hit the ground running. Since Russia was not home to apes, he contacted his associates at the Institut Pasteur in Paris for permission to use their chimpanzee.
Bringing some French chimps up to bang Russian women. Well, not literally. They do artificial insemination, but a woman's supposed to carry this hybrid, like in her womb.
The research facility in French Guinea, West Africa. With that permission in hand, he petitioned the Bolshevik government directly for $15,000, the equivalent of about $280,000 today, to fund that research. The Soviet government was more than eager. It wasn't just that they had a scientific interest in Ivanov's work. The communists wanted to present themselves as the future of humanity. So being
and this is where we get Lysenkoism too, which I don't know why I keep bringing up. It is relevant to the type of science that was taking place in Russia at the time. It was more important to get to present findings and results than it was for them to actually be real. Like you could not present bad data Kind of like how like the U.S. president fired the economic advisor or whatever because they didn't like the economic numbers that they were turning in. Your daughter had a hysterectomy on Friday. Oh goodness! I hope she's mending well.
To boast of breaking new frontiers of research was a huge goal. The fact that it was morally questionable and went directly against Christian teachings that most regular Russians still followed wasn't an obstacle. In fact, it was an advantage. The topic proposed by Professor Ivanov, wrote one Soviet official, should become a decisive blow to the religious teachings and may be aptly used in our propaganda and in our struggle for the liberation of working people from the power of the church. Ivanov's proposal received approval from the highest levels of government. Nikolai Petrovich Gorbanov, Lenin's administrator of affairs and formal personal secretary.
Why are Russian last names are just made for supervillains, I swear. Like maybe it's because I grew up reading comic books where the bad guys were so often Russian. Maybe that's it. So I associate any kind of Russian-sounding last name with like a villain. That's how indoctrinated I am. People talk about the, oh, I wasn't indoctrinated by the Red Scare. We all were. We all were.
Presented the project proposal to the government's Financial Commission for the realization of Professor Ivanov's scientific work on the hybridization of anthropoid apes in Africa. With a giant stamp of Soviet approval, Ivanov was finally able to get to work. Ivanov arrived in West Africa in March 1926, but immediately ran into problems. The French chimpanzee facility in Kindia was not everything it was promised. The facility's staff were poorly trained and had lost half of their animals since being founded just 3 years earlier. These facts had apparently been hidden from their superiors back in Paris. Nevertheless, Ivanov pressed on with his work, but quickly hit an impossible roadblock. No matter how hard he tried, for some reason he could not extract sperm or eggs from any of the chimps. Puzzled, he ordered surgical investigations and made an embarrassing discovery. None of the chimps in Kindia had gone through puberty. They were all still children. Less than a month after arriving, Ivanov...
That's kind of the thing about chimps, too. Like, when you see a chimp in the circus, like in the old, like, they don't have chimps in the circus anymore, but like in the old days, like, they would have trained chimps in the circus. They were all children. They were all prepubescent children. Like school children. Adult chimps are super aggressive and hard to work with. And dangerous, highly dangerous. Adult chimps, people, yeah, that's what people like think, oh, chimps are cute and, you know, I'm gonna hold a chimp. That's a baby chimp. That's a child chimp. Adult chimps, you know, they're about this, they're not much smaller than adult humans. And a lot stronger. More, oh, damn. Look at that. Muscle Mommy Santa. Sorry, I had to. I didn't notice that before, but yeah. So, yeah, this guy had a whole bunch of, he bought a bunch of chimps, but they're all children.
Boarded a ship back to Paris empty-handed. He spent the next few months in France trying to find alternative sources of chimps and additional funding. He considered doing a lecture tour in America to raise money, but he was warned that his experiments would likely cause public outrage if he talked about them in the States. Eventually, Ivanov secured access to the chimps at the Colonial Botanical Gardens in the French Guinean capital at Conakry and set out again in November 1926. This time, Ivanov arrived with an assistant.
Right? There's like, Accurse, I get you right there. Accurse says, I get upset when I see animal cruelty in old movies. Sucks, but I love old movies. Saw a POS guy riding some poor ostrich. The bird was clearly in distress. Yeah, ostriches don't want to be ridden at all. And they do ostrich racing, even into modern day. But the St. Louis Zoo used to have, they'd run old movies on a projector sometimes at night from the zoo at the like early in the 20th century, and they used to do a chimpanzee show where they had like a spinning, one of those like swing things like what they have at a carnival, except for they were just like monkey bars to hang from, or pull-up bars, I guess would be the best way to put it. And they would spin one way while there was horses down below, circus horses or ponies, walking, and the momentum of the horses walking turns the other thing the other way. But there were chimps, baby chimps, like little guys, on the horses' backs, jumping up to the bars and then dropping down onto the horse behind it and doing like a routine. And it was really cool to watch, but I'm like, how much whipping did those poor chimps get in order to get them to do this act, right? And elephants too. Elephants it's terrible. I have the end elephant slavery video I run on here because they still treat them like that. They're still basically slave labor in certain rural parts of Southeast Asia, and the training methods they use are incredibly cruel. No, chimps cannot be kept as pets, like at all. Chimps are not pets. In my opinion, chimps are a people, and chimps should be left alone and have their own sovereignty. But that's my opinion. People can call me crazy about having that opinion. I think all great apes deserve personhood. I do. And I would probably argue that elephants and some cetaceans and stuff do too. But that's a whole nother topic, and these chimps back in these days definitely did not have their autonomy.
22-year-old son, Ilya Ilyich Ivanov. He also had the support of French Guinea's governor Jean-Louis Poiret, who provided him with funds and permission to capture new chimps for his experiments. The Ivanovs proceeded to acquire 3 chimps on a hunting expedition and purchased another 10 from local hunters. Finally, Ivanov could get to work. On the morning of February 28, 1927, Ivanov ordered 2 female chimpanzees named Babette and Civet to be secured with nets and ropes in their cages. The cages were moved out of sight since Ivanov was afraid that the mostly African employees of the facility would take issue with what he was about to do. Only Ivanov and his son remained for the experiment. It was dangerous work. The chimps were fully conscious and had fought back in previous examinations. Each of us had a brown...
That's what I'm saying about chimps. You better watch out when you get adult chimps. They're not like the babies. They do not want you to be extracting their sperm or eggs at all. What is this? Oh, goodness. There, yeah. America hating, okay.
Still in the pocket.
Don't bring drama up in here. We're having a fun stream. We're talking about Soviet Apemen.
Just in case, he wrote in his diary. After securing them, they injected sperm donated from an unidentified local man into both animals. Then, they waited. Nothing happened. The experiment failed to produce a pregnancy. Undeterred, Ivanov tried again with a third chimp, named Black, on June 25th. This time, they knocked the chimp out first before injecting, but had no more success. This wasn't surprising. The success rate of the artificial procedure was low in all animals, even humans. And 3 experiments simply weren't enough to write off the project completely. But acquiring chimps was complicated and expensive. It was then that Ivanov began exploring a radical alternative. He saw no reason why the human-ape hybrid couldn't be implanted in a human instead. In truth, Ivanov had considered the idea earlier in
this is where things get kind of, They're like, hey, this woman needs to carry this chimp hybrid baby.
1926. A French doctor traveling on the ship with Ivanov in November 1926 recalled that Ivanov had discussed the idea of using his hospital to implant ape sperm into human women. Ivanov considered implanting chimpanzee sperm into female patients at local hospitals in West Africa without their consent. Given the racist views common at the time, it was seen as more acceptable to do such an experiment on African women than anywhere else. Ivanov believed that these non-consensual hybrid experiments on African women would be much easier and cheaper than continuing with female ape subjects. According to Ivanov, Governor Poiré was originally open to the idea, but soon changed his mind and forbade Ivanov from using any hospital patients in West Africa. Ivanov was furious, calling the governor's refusal a terrible blow to his work. He reached out to contacts in French-controlled areas of Central Africa who seemed more cooperative to the idea of using unwilling African test subjects. But fortunately,
yeah, unwilling African test subjects. The early days of fucking modern science. It was always people like of color that they're like, oh, we can experiment on them because they're less than human. I don't know how, and I'm a white person, I don't know how someone, I don't get it. I don't get how someone can be, yeah, I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up. And say, let's do it. Let's experiment on these people. I don't understand it. It makes me want to freaking cry. Like, and this went on for hundreds of years where, like, oh, we need to test the vaccine. We'll test it on the black people. There was so many. And then getting into the breeding camps and things like that. It was horrid.
budget problems put a stop to those plans. On July 1st, 1927, with Soviet funding having run out, Ivanov and his son departed Conakry. However, they brought with them 13 chimps, including Babbitt, Black, and Civet, to continue their experiments back in Russia. Upon returning, Ivanov and his son received permission to establish the first primate research facility on Soviet soil near the city of Sukhumi on the Black Sea coast. It was the only place in the USSR with climate conditions that could support chimps. By the time they arrived in late 1927, several of their chimps—
I would have assumed they would keep the chimps inside. Oh. Yeah, it's just like a troll.
Subjects, including Babette and Civet, had died en route, but they had enough left to implant a viable chimp colony. Ivanov's focus was now primarily on using human female test subjects. He made no secret of this, telling Russia's Institute of Experimental Endocrinology in December 1927 that human subjects would be more cost-effective and convenient. Ivanov's colleagues at the Academy of Sciences, most of them being pre-revolutionary figures, were appalled and severed ties with him. Nevertheless, the Soviet government, including Administrator Gorbanov, remained broadly supportive. By now, word of Ivanov's experiments had spread abroad as well, inspiring support and opposition from all sorts of people. In America, Ivanov enjoyed the enthusiastic support of the progressive press and members of the American Association for the Advancement of Atheism, but complained that he received,
For
quote,
the advancement of atheism, of all things, right?
a shower of abuse and threats to me from fascists led by the Ku Klux Klan. It still took a long time to establish the primate facility at Sukhumi and make all the arrangements.
I don't know if I would support this work, though. I don't think it's ethical to create human-animal hybrids. Like, that's just my opinion, of course. I don't... Like, maybe there's a way to, like, make a generation that doesn't have cancer by inserting, you know, great white shark DNA into the embryos or something, and that could be seen as ethical, you know, to try to prevent disease. But the idea of actually creating like a hybrid, like a 50-50 mix of an animal and a human, like, yeah, Island of Dr. Moreau, exactly. I can't get on board with that.
viable male primates at first, in summer 1929, Ivanov acquired a 26-year-old orangutan named Tarzan to be used as the sperm donor. As for the human subject,
Of all the great apes, orangutans are probably going to be the least compatible with humans. Right? Using an African ape is probably going to be your best choice. Using a chimp or a bonobo is going to be even better than a gorilla. So the orangutan is not even, right, it's not even in the same tribe. So
Soviet government stipulated that Ivanov only use consenting women rather than the unknowing patients he'd originally planned. Amazingly, he found volunteers. One of his friend's daughters, who was also a gynecologist, agreed to participate. Another woman, identified only as G from Leningrad, also offered herself to the experiment. However, her letter indicates that her mental state wasn't exactly healthy. Dear Professor, with my private life in ruins, I don't see any sense in my further existence. I beg you, don't refuse me. I ask you.
oh, wow. Sometimes this is how I open my show. Dear audience, with my private life in ruins, I don't see anything. And my mental health in shambles.
To accept me for the experiment. This obviously distressed woman's offer was good enough for Ivanov. Only the sudden death of Tarzan from a brain hemorrhage in June 1929 prevented.
Put your ape baby inside of me, she says in her letter, where she describes her life being in ruins. Poor woman.
The experiment starting immediately. All seemed set, and Ivanov just needed to acquire a new pubescent-aged male ape to proceed. In summer 1930, he received 5 adult male chimps for his work and was finally ready to go. Fate, however, had other plans. At the time, a cultural revolution was sweeping through the USSR. Existing elites from politics to academia were facing waves of accusations of disloyalty and counter-revolutionary activity by newcomers eager to prove that they were loyal communists. In May 1930, Ivanov suddenly came under attack from younger members in his field. They had nothing to say about his plans to create hybrids or his proposed experiments on unaware women. Instead, they accused him of counter-revolutionary activity and sabotaging the glorious Soviet Union. Several of his
Yeah, there you go. It wasn't even about his experiments. It was about his politics. They did the same thing that people did to Fauci about the vaccines, right?
high-level supporters across the political and academic system also fell from grace under a storm of false accusations, including Gorbanov. Ivanov's plans ground to a halt. On December 13, 1930, Ivanov was arrested. The charges were totally without evidence, but that didn't save him from prison and exile to Kazakhstan. Eventually, in early 1932, Stalin ordered him to be released, but the stress of his arrest and exile proved too much to handle. Ivanov collapsed and died from a stroke the day before he was due to return home. For a brief
And
moment,
we never got our Apemen army.
Ivanov seemed to be at the forefront of radical new sciences with the backing of one of the world's great powers. However, it would come to nothing. His son had no interest in continuing his work, and no one else in Russia came along to pick up the torch. Ivanov's plans for a human-ape hybrid were shelved and quickly forgotten. The primate research facility he established at Sukhumi continues to this day, but has since pursued other avenues of research. While other scientists around the world did occasionally toy with the idea in the decades
Oh my gosh, I remember when Sandy, do you remember the sex bot epidemic? That was like, what, like 2020, 2021? I remember, because I was like a mod on a whole bunch of people's channels, but my channel wasn't really that big at the time, but I'd get them too. In the chats, you just get like sex bots just... I remember Math Pig, we get them all the time. Critical questions, we get them all the time. And the Daily Atheist, we get them. I remember.
After his death, and rumors of secret hybrid experiments continued in Africa for decades, no human-ape hybrids are known to modern science. The question of whether Ivanov could have succeeded is still unanswered, and there is always the fear that someone, somewhere, will resume his work one day.
Fear. So there was one chimp that people claimed it was a hybrid, and it was Oliver. So here's the video about Oliver the chimp that we're going to watch. Of the alleged hybrid.
You'll have heard of Planet of the Apes in some form or another. But is it theoretically possible for an ape species to evolve to become more human-like? Well, the answer is possibly. In today's episode of Unusual as Usual, we're learning about Oliver the Humanzee.
It was literally like whack-a-mole. I remember the worst one I ever had was with the sex bots and stuff, was an interview that Arden Hart did on a channel, and it went absolutely crazy. The sex bots stopped when the war in Ukraine started. The Russians didn't have access to the internet. Is that true?
Oliver was a chimpanzee born in the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1957. He was acquired by animal trainers Frank and Janet Berger in 1960, and they observed some physical and behavioural evidence which led them to believe Oliver was perhaps a human-chimp hybrid, a humanzee if you will. Oliver had a small head. His face was flatter than the average chimpanzee's. He had a pronounced nose and had the habit of walking upright on two legs rather than on his knuckles. Some people say he was the missing link, some kind of throwback between anthropod ancestors to modern day man. The term missing link is not used by biologists because it implies...
That's because every link you connect, you create two more missing links on either side of it. So missing link is kind of a null point. There's always going to be missing links. It's just the nature of the fossil record.
That the evolutionary process is a linear phenomenon and that forms originate consecutively in a chain. Instead, the term last common ancestor is preferred since evolution is a branching process. That said, Oliver had striking human features. His head was bald. He lacked the chimpanzee's trademark short white beard and pronounced forward jaw. He had pointed ears, placed much higher than usual, and even had freckles.
Aw, that's kind of cute.
In 1975, Frank and Janet sold Oliver to a Manhattan lawyer called Michael Miller. Miller planned to present Oliver to the American Museum of Natural History, who he imagined would give him a pat on the back, maybe an award, and would probably want to keep Oliver so that their experts could study him. However, that wasn't the case. With no facilities to hold Oliver, Miller decided to go back to the Bergers and arranged to board Oliver there, which Frank was more than happy to do for an additional $500 a month.
So he sold his chimp to someone and then kept it and got $500 a month to take care of it. I mean, again, I'm not a big fan of keeping chimps in captivity at all. In any whether it's in a pet condition or in a like a zoo setting. Generally, I'm not a big fan of keeping anthropoid apes in zoos. For the most part, like ones that have conditions like albinism and stuff like that, I guess I can kind of understand they wouldn't survive in the wild. But yeah, I think reconditioning things. Yeah, they yanked out Oliver's canines too. Mine were destroyed by a tongue ring. Oliver did not have his tongue pierced though.
In January of 1976, a reporter got wind of the news, and the story broke. Miller issued a statement and produced photos of Oliver, which appeared in newspapers around the world the very next day. With the media fighting for a chance to see the missing link in person, Miller scheduled a press conference in New York City. Meanwhile, officials from a Japanese television network approached him with an offer. They would not only pay him, but also fund additional scientific studies to be carried out in Japan, including genetic tests. In exchange, they would have the rights to reveal the results in a nationally televised program. To Miller, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to determine Oliver's true nature, to increase his public exposure and possibly make a little money in the process. Oliver and Miller spent 3 weeks on tour in Japan, with TV cameras following their every move. Oliver was dressed in a tux for dinner. He was filmed smoking a cigar and watching TV.
Lots of apes have been taught to smoke throughout history, though. Some of them famously like to smoke cigarettes.
He wore a kimono, getting ready for bed, all for the benefit of the TV show. At one point, scientists placed Oliver on a device called a gravicoder, which indicated that his center of gravity resembled a human being's more than a chimpanzee's. Preliminary genetic tests indicate...
His hips are still on the outside, though. He's still walking very much in his hips compared to a human, where you walk more... I guess your legs are more directly underneath you instead of splayed. So it's like a difference between, like... Where am I? Here we go. Between, like, this kind of angle and this kind of angle with humans. Humans' legs almost go like that so that we can run, because we're cursorial, whereas apes, non-human apes anyway, have legs that can go more three-dimensionally because they're grabbing stuff with their feet too while they're moving through branches.
That he had 47 chromosomes, one more than a human and one less than a chimpanzee. However, the results were kept ambiguous enough not to ruin a big reveal. Reportedly, up to 26 million people watched the Japanese broadcast. In 1977, Miller, after having Oliver for less than a year, gave him to Ralph Helfer, an animal trainer who housed Oliver in his Gentle Jungle exhibit before finally closing in 1982. Helfer gave Oliver to one of his trainers, Ken Deckeru, who owned an exotic animal rental company supplying animals for various TV shows. Stage managing Oliver was never easy, so he did very little work in front of the camera. A couple of television commercials and...
Stage managing an adult chimp is, like, just in general, not good. Not easy.
Small movie roles, but nothing major. His biggest role being in a Dick Clark TV show called Animals Are the Funniest People, where he played the president in a comedy skit. He was also featured on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries on the Discovery Channel. Oliver was once again sold.
How did I miss that? I watched Unsolved Mysteries all the time, and I never remember ever seeing Oliver on there.
This time in 1989 to the Berkshire Corporation, a Pennsylvania laboratory leasing out animals for scientific and cosmetic testing. He was never leased out for experiments, but for the next 9 years, his home was a tiny, cramped cage.
Teach the ape how to roll cigarettes.
In 1996, primarily primates, an animal sanctuary petitioned to allow Oliver and 13 other chimpanzees to be transferred to them for retirement. Due to pressure in 1998, Berkshire Corporation allowed the move, which became the first attempt anywhere to retire chimps to a sanctuary after they'd been used in medical experiments. After 9 long years, Oliver had ended up at a spacious, open-air cage at Primarily Primates, Texas, where he lived out the remainder of his life with another chimpanzee, a gentle female known as Raisin. She was placed with Oliver for companionship, since Oliver's advanced age and years in the research lab had left him arthritic, mostly blind, and unable to interact daily with younger, more boisterous chimpanzees at the sanctuary. Oliver died in his sleep on the 2nd of June 2012, with Raisin by his side. He was at least 55 years old. Perhaps Oliver was a cross between a gorilla and a pygmy chimp, or possibly an unknown species of one or the other. Or maybe he was the missing link after all.
No.
I'm going to leave you with a quote from one of his past owners, Ralph Helfer. He said, "I don't think Oliver was a missing link, but something happened back there in the forest. This was not a regular chimp." And there we have it, Oliver the Humanzee. How about you? Do you think he could have been the missing link? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all we've got time for today, but I'll see you all next week. And remember,
So I think Oliver was just a chimpanzee. That's my opinion on him. Obviously, anybody can have any kind of differing opinion that they want, but I am of the opinion that Oliver was just a regular chimpanzee that was trained to walk upright, to act human. You can train apes to ape human behavior. It's really where the term aping someone comes from. So, I mean, there's that. But you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Can humans and non-humans apes hybridize? Has it happened? Was Oliver one of them? Did the Soviets secretly succeed and create Oliver in a lab and then he escaped? I don't know. Tell me. Let me know. And please remember to be kind. Take care. And we'll see you next time. All right. Live from the Hive audience. Don't go anywhere. Yeah. Thank you, Belle. Yeah, that's the new Etsy that they made for Ben and Belle. Yeah, so go check that out. And yeah, don't go anywhere. There's going to be more show to come. I got a little flappy thing hanging down here. It's been tickling me. I was wondering what it was. It's one of those hanger things. Go figure. Yeah, don't leave. There's more show to come. And yeah, we will be right back as soon as I take a break.
This holiday, grab some eggnog. Let's gather around the fireplace and celebrate the birth of our blessed Lord with the soothing sounds of a very special Darth Dawkins Christmas collection. 753 wonderful hits.
Here we go. Shut the fuck up. You're totally close. Stop shit. Don't talk to me. You're being rude. I love your fucking father.
All your favorites are here in one spectacular collection.
You come into my room. You restore my money. You fucking control. To be a fucking asshole, I can't tolerate anymore. I've had to quit this server.
Before has such a splendid compilation been put together.
So the problem with homosexuals is that God made male for female. The Bible is very clear. Don't be queer, don't be queer, don't be queer. Thank you. Bing, 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 bing.
Order with your credit card in the next 30 minutes, and if you manage to successfully render an argument for intelligibility within your godless worldview, you'll receive a beautifully decorated King James Bible, along with your own personally autographed copy of Dawkins' Presuppositionalist Guide, Crushing Atheism. Absolutely free. Merry Christmas, and a blessed New Year.
Boom! You're not server muted. Get out of my room.
All right. Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to our Week in Weird. Now, the inspiration for this video, I want to explain because it comes from a Cryptic Corner that we did months ago. Today, we're talking about mystical flowers that bloom, you know, on strange schedules and are only able to be handled in this certain way and produce these certain qualities, all sorts of stuff. The one that brought this to my attention was the when we covered the Kuwak, which was a cryptid from Flores, I believe, or one of the islands of Indonesia. It wasn't Flores; it was a different one. But the one that the Kuwak's from, which is allegedly a bipedal little dinosaur guy that eats corpses and attacks people, and stands, you know, about hip high, which we decided as a hive was probably someone seeking Asian water monitors, which are Virinid salvatoria, and they are huge. They're the longest lizard. I mean, they're longer than a Komodo dragon. They weigh like a fraction of the weight of a Komodo dragon because they're very snaky, but they can stand up on their hind legs and they're tall because they're super skinny. They're like comparing a constrictor snake to a regular snake. Inside this bulk difference there. Yeah, they were corpse eaters. But the island and the story associated with it were people going to the island to get this mystical flower, right? And it was supposed to have like magical healing properties and stuff. It was a cactus that's not even from Indonesia, is what they claim the flower was. You can still buy it today. You can still grow them today. Hold on, let me see. I'm just trying to pull something up. Where are we? I'm trying to find the flower. I should have had it ready. I didn't realize I was going to start it this way until we were talking about the Apemen and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I should mention that this was inspired by an episode of Cryptic Corner and tell people, bing, 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 bing. That's the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, right? What was the island? I don't know how I'll do this. Here we go. So the island's called Nusa Kambangan. And there's a flower from there. The legendary Wijaya Kusuma. Now we're going to look at this before we do anything else, because it's a real flower. But it's not from Indonesia at all. The Wijaya Kusuma. Oh no, that's the village. Hold on. Here's the flower. myth and how you care for them. But it's a real flower. The Wijaya Kusuma flower, with its beauty and uniqueness, has long been a topic of conversation in the world of horticulture. Not only physically beautiful, but this flower is also covered in various myths and legends that enrich the meaning behind its beauty. If you are interested in bringing charm of the, I hope I'm saying this right, Wijaya Kusuma flower to your garden, it is important to understand how to care for it properly. Okay, so in Indonesian culture, the Wijaya Kusuma flower has deep meaning. This flower is often associated with the symbol of victory, courage, progress. The myths surrounding it often depict the Wijaya Kusuma flower as a symbol of success in facing obstacles and achieving life's goals. However, it doesn't stop there. This flower is believed to be an heirloom belonging to King Dwarawati Prabhu Krishna, who is believed to be the embodiment of Batara Vishnu, the god who preserves nature. Following are some of the other myths that surround Wijaya Kusuma. A quote from CNN Indonesia page. All right, so talks about some of the powers that it has and stuff, but the flower itself cannot come from Indonesia because it's a cactus. It comes from it actually comes from the west coast of Mexico, tropical Mexico. So it having this folklore in Indonesia could only be like from like post-colonial era, and it kind of makes it seem like there was a real mythical flower that looked like this one. So when these arrived via the trade network in the Pacific, that they took on the identity of that flower, right? But this could not be, this cactus could not be, because yeah, it's a type of cactus. And cactuses are indigenous to the New World. There's a few species of cactuses that are from, I believe, West Africa, but they are actually believed to have crossed the Atlantic to get there, either via birds carrying their seeds or by floating across the sea. But regardless, this isn't to say that this wasn't like a real mythical flower that existed and went extinct or something, because that's what we're going to look at. A lot of this stuff we're going to look at right now on this section of the show. So let's get started. We're gonna start off in Eastern Europe. There's a couple of right where we left off with the Apemen, I suppose.
The fern flower, a magical blossom that endows you with extraordinary magical abilities. According to legend, whoever obtains this flower can see places where treasure is hidden, understand the language of animals, make others fall in love with them, and know everything happening in the world. However, acquiring the fern flower is exceptionally...
Yes, this is like dubbed over, and the thing that is dubbed over is not completely muted. So, we get to hear both of them talking, but at least the dub is louder.
Challenging. To do so, one must not only find the blue spark that briefly ignites in the dark forest, but also defeat the devil himself.
This is from the Encyclopedia of Ukrainian Mythology. A lot of the stuff we're going to look at today is from mythology channels. Yeah, so... yeah, this is dubbed over him speaking in Ukrainian.
The fern flower is closely tied to another figure in Ukrainian mythology, Kupalo. It's said
Kupalo was a total femboy. Who saw that coming? Do you want to be the Ukrainian femboy flower god? Love it.
to bloom with a resounding crack and emit a marvelous radiance precisely at midnight on the night of Kupala's holiday. However, plucking the fern flower constitutes just a portion of the challenge. To do so, one must locate a fern in the evening, encircle themselves and the fern with a consecrated knife 12 times, prepare an Easter towel, sprinkle the fern with holy water, and
An Easter towel. When they says prepare an Easter towel, I'm sorry that my brain goes to like a towel with like the towels that you get out at Easter time with maybe bunnies or painted eggs on them. Would that work, or is it an Easter towel something else? It's probably something else in Eastern Orthodox mysticism, right? That would be my speculation.
and wait. Before midnight, evil spirits commence their assault, conjuring terrifying apparitions. They hurl branches and stones, howl, leap, groan, and weep. Or conversely, endeavor to induce slumber. Exactly at the stroke of midnight, the fern comes into full bloom. At this precise moment, it must be
And
wrapped.
the reason why this is why the fern flower is such a thing is because ferns don't flower. That's one of the defining characteristics of a fern. Actually, they reproduce by sporing, which is a bit different. And it's not. I mean, ferns are they branched off from like the flowering plants really early on. But so a fern flower is kind of like mythical by in and of itself. It'd be more likely to me to be a angiosperm that has branching palmated leaves that are reminiscent of fern.
In the towel, securely stowed in one's pocket, and a swift exit from the forest must be made. Trees will burn and fall around. All sorts of devils will fly and scream, but it's all just an illusion created by the devil. Regardless of the frightful spectacle, it is imperative never to glance back. For anyone who succumbs to temptation and looks back may either lose their sanity or meet their demise. Sometimes, under the influence of the illusion, people simply don't have time to see the flower. One legend tells of a man who found the fern near his porch. He settled down to await its blossoming, but prior to midnight, he felt an inexplicable compulsion and rose, wandering aimlessly for days before returning home. When intimidation or lulling prove futile, the devil resorts to cunning strategies to seize
So
the
it makes you just like wander off in a fugue state for a couple of days. Nice.
fern flower. For instance, he might fabricate the illusion of mourning, luring a person into a false sense of security. In most instances, however, the fern flower ends up in the devil's possession. Whoever successfully retains the fern flower for themselves is assuredly destined for happiness and prosperity. Be sure to enable notifications to stay updated with our latest content.
Yeah, you know, enable notifications here too. You can hit the thumbs up, right? If you're not subscribed, you hit that subscribe button and then you hit the bell to make sure that it tells you when I go live. But if you want to be part of the show, right? Like you can be in the live chat right now, and participate in the polls and everything if you subscribe and you show up on Saturday morning at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central, 8:30 Mountain, 7:30 Pacific on Saturday mornings, just like Saturday morning cartoons. You can come hang out with the Hive, and we will be discussing. We'll have a cryptic corner for you. Then we'll do our weekend weird, which is what we're working on right now. And if you really want to participate, you come out to the polls. And you've every week on my community page, there are polls that are put up that you can come vote on and say, "Hey, I want to participate," and say, "I want to see this topic covered. I want to see that topic covered," right? And you can control how we view the show. All right.
And help us by...
Yeah, we're going to go on to the next one.
The
Now, I warn you all,
Raskovnik
this one's got
Raskovnish is a magical herb in Slavic and Romanian.
This has the worst, this has old-timey AI voice because it's from like 9 years ago. But it's the only video I could find on this one and I really wanted to cover it. Raskovnik.
Mythology. According to lore, the Raskovnik has the magical property to unlock or uncover anything that is locked or closed. However, legends claim it is notoriously difficult to recognize
And this is very much like the four-leaf clover, right? With this powers to give you luck and stuff. Well, I want to cover the four-leaf clover on its own, maybe like closer to St. Patrick's Day. I think that would probably be the better thing to cover. I might just do like a whole episode on good luck charms or something.
herb, and reputedly only certain chthonic animals are able to identify it. Names
Spooky,
the herb.
you're in the live chat right now, babe. You are live with the Hive, and I'm dressed like my Santa outfit. Did you see my cute outfit, Spooky? I got a Santa hat.
Is known by a multitude of names among the South Slavs, and the names vary significantly by region, while Ratskovnish and Raskovnik...
It's funny when the AI just tries to sound posh, too.
are the customary names in Bulgarian and Serbian respectively, and the root is also preserved in the Leskovac dialect as Rasko. In some parts of Macedonia it is known as Trava. In the vicinity of Bar, the term is Demir Bozan, a Turkish borrowing meaning iron breaker. In Samir, the plant is referred to as Speargastitrava. In Slavonia, it is known as Zemuljski Kljuc, and in Slovenia's Savinja Valley as Mavrasan Koran. Description and properties. Traditionally,
wow, that was all the names. Yeah. Must
it is considered that few people, if any, could actually recognize the herb. However, in Bulgarian sources the raskovnik is sometimes described as a grass resembling a four-leaf clover. It grows in meadows and may be picked either while green and blooming or in hay when it is already dry. While it is not necessarily rare, nor does it thrive only in remote locations, it is nevertheless impossible to recognize by the uninitiated. In the words of Serbian linguist and folklorist Vuk Stefanovic Karadzic, it is some...
Like, that's one of the properties of this one, is like you cannot see it. You have to like know what it is. Someone has to have shown it to you before. I met a fae. I met a fae named Glinda on Facebook the other day. We've been friends for a while, but we never talked, and now we're talking. And she's a delight. But she's like a fairy. She like does like all the fairy fire dancing and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Oh my god, I'm in the live chat. Yes, Bree. The first thing I said in chat was how I was loving the outfit. Yeah. So, if someone wants to go pick some Raskovnik for me, and send it to me in the mail so I have good luck.
For which it is thought that thanks to it every lock and every other closure would open by itself. According to the legend, the raskovnik could unlock any gate or padlock regardless of its size, material lucky. It could also uncover treasures buried in the ground. In Bulgarian beliefs, it could split the ground at the place where a treasure lay so that people could locate it. In some regions of Serbia,
I'm gonna take my raskovnik and go search for the Lost Dutchman's mine. How about that? Ember, you want to come with me? Or just for you? Yeah. Or this just for Miss Sandy. I said Miss Sandy needs a Santa Brie. Santa baby, hurry down the chimney tonight.
Itself was a black man in chains who requested that a raskovnik be brought him. The raskovnik would break the chains and the man would disappear into the ground to be replaced by a cauldron filled with gold coins. Other supernatural properties attributed to the herb by Bulgarians include the alchemic ability to transmute iron into gold, the more general ability to make the one who picked it forever happy or wealthy. In some interpretations, the raskovnik is a wonderful plant that makes through whatever its owner desires. Obtainment. The raskovnik is believed to have been sought after by treasure hunters, sorcerers and herbalists who desired its magic powers for personal benefit. In Serbia, it was believed that there exist certain treasures, such as the treasure of Tsar Radovan, which could not be unlocked in any other way but employing a raskovnik, as according to Bulgarian mythology and some other
Hold on, what was the name of the treasure? The treasure of Tsar Radovan. I guess that's one we missed on our treasure episode, huh, guys?
Not be unlocked in any other way but employing a raskovnik, as according to Bulgarian mythology and some other traditions. Tortoises were the only beings who knew the appearance of the herb and the
Ember. So we need a tortoise. Start putting together a list. We need some raskovnik, which we'll need a tortoise to get. So this is gonna be like an Ocean's 11 kind of thing, except for with spooky herbs and aminals. Yeah, I do love a tortoise. I had a tortoise. I don't know if I'd get a tortoise again though. Kind of don't like keeping animals in captivity. It just which is kind of ironic considering, the Hive and stuff. But I used to have all the spiders and things. I feel like I kind of grown from there. So if we get our hands on this flower, could we have a world without transphobia? I hope so. That's a goal. That's a real goal.
Location where it grows. Such people would try to obtain the Raskovnik by deceiving a tortoise. They would find a tortoise nesting site and hem it in with a fence while the tortoise is away. When it returns, the tortoise would be unable to access its eggs, so it would return with a Raskovnik in order to breach the fence. Thus, the tortoise would reveal the herb and people would acquire it from the tortoise, which does not need it anymore. While the tricking of a tortoise was the most popular method in Bulgarian mythology, in Dalmatia the legend refers to snakes. And among Serbs another version involves the locking of young hedgehogs in a box for the mother to unlock.
So it breaks down barriers and unlocks locks. So, and the animals know where to find it. It's a secret that animals know. So snakes and tortoises and hedgehogs, if you lock their babies away from them, they will go get this herb and bring it back to make the lock open. And you just follow them. You just follow them to where the herb is. And they'll tell you where the secret unlocking plant is. And then you can, walk into any bank vault anywhere in the world. Just walk right in. And if you get arrested or anything, you'd be like, the door was unlocked. I don't know what your problem is. It's like they wanted me to take the money. I found a tortoise on the road a month ago and stopped traffic and got out and picked it up and took it to the state park nearby. Well, that's how we do it. We used to always, in the little town I lived in, we'd always find snapping turtles trying to get through town to find mates and stuff. Because there was a creek that ran through town that they liked. But there was when they go out looking for mates, or when they come out of hibernation, they'd be on the streets or wandering around town, and we'd always take them and take them to the river, because while there is a creek that runs through town, the people in the city they'll swerve to run over cats and stuff. They swerve to run over possums and raccoons. They're not going to give turtles a break. They chop the heads off snakes and run them over, and pretty sad, honestly. Wish humans were more compassionate to animals.
In Serbia, one would also have to be quick to take the Raskovnik, as the hedgehog would swallow it after use. In any case, turtles, snakes and hedgehogs are all animals with onic characteristics which were often variously associated with the underworld in South Slavic tradition. Karadzic also mentions another Serbian method to obtain the Raskovnik. He recorded a story from the town of Zemun about a merchant who desired to find the herb. The merchant locked an old woman into... Y'all need to be
taking notes on this, because now we can get all the Raskovnik we want, Raskovnik that we want, and... the world will be our oyster, really. And even oysters, we'll be able to open them right up with the root, with that too. Just whoop, those pop right open for us. Everything will. The problem is, if somebody's out there desiring to see my titties right now and just thinking about it holding the Raskovnik, my top would just pop open and the treasures would pop out. That's the problem with it. So you got to be careful who you just hand it to.
Leg irons and let her wander in a field during the night. If the irons unlock by themselves at a certain place, that would be a place where the Raskovnik grows. Metaphoric use. The legendary herb has entered the modern Bulgarian vocabulary as a metaphor.
Wear a shackle, and then you walk around with it and wait for it to pop open. Yeah, I save all the turtles and other animals if I find them in need. Did you let the baby snappers go to hibernate for the winter? Or what happened with the baby snappers? You ate all your Raskovnik? Now we just got to take Jason around to open doors. When you walk through, if you have to go to the bathroom, right? So you're desiring to get to the bathroom, and you walk through the bathroom with the stalls. Do all the toilet lids pop open if you ate some Raskovnik?
Or for a magiki or a panacea in the wider sense, the phrase to find the Raskovnik means to find the solution to a certain problem, usually a complex or difficult one. Raskovnic is also the common Bulgarian name for the plant European water clover, which, in its appearance, has many similarities with the descriptions of the mythical Raskovnik. In eastern Serbia, Raskovnik also refers to a specific plant used in vernacular medicine, namely Lays opicium sila.
Released into the Ohio. Gorgeous. All right, so that ends the Raskovnik. Now we're on to something that you're probably all familiar with at this point. If any of you have read the Odyssey or watched any versions of the Odyssey or read Percy Jackson for that matter, you're probably going to be familiar with the lotus tree. Some 70s music.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Plant Detective. In this episode we'll cover the origins of the Lotus Eaters, specifically the plant that the Lotus Eaters ate within the Odyssey mythology. I have narrowed down the possibilities to 2 species of plant, and a third possibility. We'll start with the first possibility, Ziziphus lotus, also known as the wild jujube. This is a species of fruit tree native to the entirety of the Mediterranean region, with the exception of France and Italy. As such, knowledge of this plant would have been accessible to Homer since he was a scholar of that time period. Much like in the Odyssey, it's described as having a honeyed flavor. The feel for us is describing them
Ew, had earwax in it, gross.
as date-like in flavor. It was also mentioned that it was used to make wine, with various types of folklore indicating that this wine was used to induce contentment and forgetfulness. This is possibility number 1 out of 3 concerning the origins of the Lotus Eaters fruit. One flaw in this hypothesis is that these are desert fruit and are not often found on islands. This brings us to the next possibility. The next possibility is that it's Nymphaea lotus. This species is native to Egypt, where it's been used as a hallucinogen.
Yeah, but that's a water plant, right? The lotus from the Lotus Eaters was supposed to be a tree, right? That's my understanding.
By Egyptian people, since the Greeks would have had access to ancient Egypt, as seen in one of my videos on ancient Greek trade routes, it is likely that Homer would have had some knowledge of this plant. This species, also known as the blue lotus, was depicted on various Egyptian frescoes, alongside erotic art within various tombs, indicating that it was used as an aphrodisiac, as well as a hallucinogen. The actual hallucinogenic compound is called apophene, a dopamine receptor agonist, a chemical compound that was used by the FDA treatment for erectile dysfunction. Due to the hallucinogenic properties...
I literally do love baby snapping turtles. They're adorable. I like... feeding them worms is exactly what's the best thing to do.
and mild sedative effects of this plant. This acts as another candidate for what the Lotus Eater were eating. Now here's a third, and what I think is the most likely possibility. The Lotus Eater's fruit was a mythical hybrid. Greek mythology is replete with various examples.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. A mythical hybrid, not like a physical hybrid. Like a chimera.
Of merging of different animals and life forms to create new and interesting characters and creatures. The centaur, the chimera, Cerberus, and the siren being such examples. This leaves the possibility that the lotus tree was either an exaggerated form of one of the two plants, or a mythical hybrid between both types, where properties of both plants and possibly other species were combined and exaggerated through legendary embellishment to create what is known as the lotus tree. Indicating that the third possibility is a complete...
Yeah, I mean, because all the other things encountered in the Odyssey weren't real, like, they were... Well, there was even chimeras and stuff. Well, in the Cyclops, Polyphemus, there's Scylla, the Hydra. I think they encountered the Hydra, didn't they? And what's the big swirly thing? They encountered harpies.
Fabrication, derived from folklore surrounding various types of narcotic plants, likely specifically the wild jujube and the blue lotus. Well, that about covers everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to me on BitChute for a greater variety of content, 4 videos a week. And thank you.
Have you ever become overly attached to something, only to have it disappear from your life forever?
Ooh, this one's so cool. Silphium. Are you all familiar with Silphium? Is there an animal you don't like or that creeps you out? There's animals I wouldn't handle, But some of my favorite animals are animals I wouldn't handle. Like one of my favorite animals is Scolopendra, the giant centipedes. Like, I love them. They're like literally like one of my favorite animals in the whole animal kingdom. But I would never handle one, free handle it at all, because they're dangerous. And me getting hurt by one gives them a bad reputation. But yeah, like sure, like parasites and stuff. I don't like parasites on me. I understand their ecological role, right? But I don't like them. I don't like ticks. I don't like worms, like intestinal worms and stuff like that. I wouldn't say I like any of them. But yeah, as far but that's also from my perspective too. I mean, we're pretty as a species, humans are pretty parasitic, all things considered. Yeah, leeches are another parasite. Yeah. I don't know why we're looking at a grocery haul here, but let's go.
In a society where we are hit with a constant parade of consumer products, it is likely that at some point, you've had something you really like go the way of the dodo. Perhaps it was your favorite snack food, or a game you used to enjoy as a kid.
Oh,
For me, it was the Airwick Cone Scent Crisp Breeze.
I loved Crystal Pepsi. You ain't wrong. Crystal Pepsi was my jam, and then they stopped making it. Now you can order
a smell from my childhood that was rudely taken.
Now you can order it for like mole crickets are freaky, yeah. Now you can order Crystal Pepsi for like $40 a case.
From me when it was discontinued. But for the ancient Romans, the thing that they missed the most was likely silphium. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Historidame, and today we're learning all about silphium, the ancient Roman miracle plant. So what is silphium? Native to the area around the ancient Greek city of Cyrene, in what is now modern-day Libya, silphium was a plant that was prominent in Greek and Roman society.
It's sort of like Kingsfoil from Lord of the Rings.
Known for its many uses. Thought to be a close relative to fennel, the herb was described to have thick hollow roots covered in black bark, heart-shaped seed pods, and clusters of small yellow flowers. From being an ingredient in hundreds of recipes, a common addition to medicine, to even being an early form of birth control, silphium was largely known to be an all-in-one miracle plant that was prominent in many Mediterranean cultures, at least until it supposedly went extinct. When it comes to everyday uses, silphium is best known for its role in cooking. Being thought to have tasted similar to parsley, this herb was considered to be a culinary delicacy. All parts of the plant would show up in various Roman recipes over the years, from appetizers to sauces.
Oops, didn't mean to do that. Just fixing
Have you ever become overly attached to something?
Just fixing the rubber thing on my earbuds because they're getting all wonky. They keep falling out. I gotta be like stuffed down just right to sit in my ear because I have big ear holes. Where were we?
At least until it supposedly went extinct. When it comes to everyday uses, silphium is best known for its role in cooking. Being thought to have tasted similar to parsley, this herb was considered to be a culinary delicacy. All parts of the plant would show up in various Roman recipes over the years, from appetizers to sauces. The stems were prepared similar to other vegetables, and served either roasted, boiled, or fried. Roots were often eaten raw, as a snack dipped in vinegar for added flavor. Leaves could be added to a salad, or grated and used in other dishes as a seasoning.
So we missed out on this vegetable, too.
Such as in one recipe for Athenian cabbage, which calls for cabbage to be sliced, mixed with coriander and rue, then sprinkled with a glaze of honey, vinegar, and silphium. It was also used as a preservative for lentils.
I bet it was delicious.
And other legumes, and when fed to sheep, it was said to make their meat delectably tender. The sap of its roots could also be dried into a substance known as lacer, which was a popular ingredient in many Roman sauces, but was also used for medicinal purposes. In his accounts, Pliny the Elder has
as an aphrodisiac, too, I believe.
Mentioned silphium numerous times, describing its use as a healing salve and medicine for conditions such as anal growths or animal bites, recommending that the user rub the plant leaves into the infected area. Other accounts mention its use in treating indigestion, sore throats, goiters, tetanus, and coughs. But even more unusual, ancient...
So this could have fixed my stomach problems, too, because I've been in the bathroom for the last couple of days sick. I could have used some silphium, but the frickin' Cyrenians got greedy and harvested it to extinction.
Ancient writings also mention using the dried sap of the plant in the bedroom, particularly as an aphrodisiac or contraceptive. Soranus of Ephesus, a gynecologist in ancient Rome...
Aphrodisiac and contraceptive in one? Well done, nature, and then greedy humans.
Recommended that women take a chickpea-sized amount of silphium in order to prevent or remove any existing pregnancy. It is suggested that this worked by inducing menstruation in the woman's body, making her temporarily infertile or causing an early pregnancy to miscarry. Since silphium isn't around today, we unfortunately have no way of knowing just how effective this method of birth control actually was. However, modern doctors recommend that certain plants within the genus Ferula, which are thought to be close relatives to silphium, should be avoided by pregnant women.
It could have been like an abortifacient too,
due to the risk for miscarriage. There has even been a study conducted that found these plants can cause reduced fertility in mice. So while we don't know for certain, it is possible that silphium was at least somewhat effective as a contraceptive. It is actually due to its use in the Roman bedroom that some historians believe silphium to be responsible for our modern heart shape, with the design of the seed pods possibly being where the association of the shape came from.
So that's crazy to think that we have like the heart, the heart, you know? However you want to do it. I don't know how the Zoomers do it. This is how we do it though. Is thought by some historians to have been originated from this extinct plant's seed pod. That's crazy, right?
Now, unfortunately, despite the massive demand for it, this miracle plant was not so easily acquired. Though there were many attempts to cultivate silphium, the herb was known to be very stubborn, with domestication resulting in plants that were sterile or simply never grew at all. Why exactly it was so difficult to cultivate is still not known for certain. One theory suggests that similar to the huckleberry, silphium was very sensitive to soil chemistry, which meant that once it was taken out of its natural environment, the plants wouldn't be able to reproduce. Another suggests that silphium was actually a hybrid of two plants, which were able to reproduce asexually through their root systems, thus making any harvested seeds useless for farming. But regardless of the exact reason, all that mattered to the people of Cyrene was that their supply of silphium was limited. Since they couldn't farm it, it would have to be harvested from the tiny area of land where it was found to
plant they keep showing in place of the silphium is
grow naturally, ranging only around 201 by 40 kilometers in area. In order to ration the few wild plants that they had, the Greek government had strict rules about how much could be harvested at one time. But despite the limited supply, there was still a very high demand for the herb. This caused the value of silphium to skyrocket, until the plant was essentially worth its weight in gold. During his reign, Julius Caesar would even reportedly store around 1,500 pounds of silphium in the royal treasury. It became so vital to the Cyrenian economy that eventually
what if we found it and we're able to, we found like some remains of it and we were able to clone it and reproduce it, and it was like this miracle plant that did all this stuff that they say it does. If it actually did it, that'd be amazing. I'm not saying that it does, I mean, obviously. But it'd be so cool to find a new medicinal plant that had properties that could help cure things like it was talking about.
The city would even put images of the plant on their coins. But the high value of the plant only further increased demand. It is possible that this would also spur individuals that were looking to make a quick buck to illegally smuggle silphium for profit, only contributing to its lack of supply. Now, what exactly happened to silphium is still unknown. Most assume that the plant went extinct, though exactly when and how this happened is debated. In his writings, Pliny the Elder claims that only a single stalk of silphium was ever discovered during his lifetime, which was promptly picked and given to the Emperor Nero. There are other historical texts written later on, however, such as recipes and medical books, that still mention silphium as an ingredient, so the timeline is foggy. Even still, scholars have proposed numerous suggestions for how silphium ended up going extinct, ranging from overharvesting, to overgrazing by livestock, to the desertification of the region, or possibly a combination of all three. Others claim that silphium maybe never went extinct at all, we just lost track of it. History can be confusing like that.
What if it's still out there? We can go get some silphium. Even if it's just has the property to be an aphrodisiac in birth control in one thing, that'd be worth it, right?
Other plants within the same family, such as giant fennel, bear a similar resemblance to how the plant is described.
It could be giant fennel, okay. Yeah, this is Titan. This one's right up your alley, right? This is the kind of stuff you're into. Botany, talking about flowers.
Possible that silphium has been under our noses this entire time, but with no ancient samples to compare it to, no one can know for sure. All that we do know is that this ancient Roman miracle plant...
Titan, were you familiar with silphium before we started covering this? Hey Ryan, hey Theo.
in one way or another, has been lost to time. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. A bit of a fun fact for you all, but this was actually the topic that I wanted to do for my very first video on this channel.
It's a good
I never
topic.
did though, because I was worried that people wouldn't find it as interesting as I did.
It's super interesting, girl. Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe to this channel real quick while I'm here. Because I really liked her. I liked her enthusiasm. How about you guys?
But hopefully you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content like this, you can also subscribe to my channel, and keep up to date on all the fun history videos of the future. But for now, I bid you farewell.
Alright. Now this one I also uses this name. Wijaya Kusami, but we're talking about this one's allegedly in Tibet. So
behind the fragrance of the night flower, there is one flower that is so legendary and full of mystery, the Wijaya Kusuma flower. This flower is not just an ornamental plant, but is believed to hold a very strong mystical aura. It is said that in ancient times the Wijaya Kusuma flower would only bloom once a year, right at night, and even then only briefly. Therefore, the blooming of this flower is considered a sacred moment full of mystery. In Javanese tradition,
all these that they're showing here are that same cactus, right? That cactus that's from Mexico, because that's where cactuses come from.
the Wijaya Kusuma is believed to be the flower of glory. Anyone who sees this flower bloom is believed to gain great luck, authority, and even a path to the throne of power. It is not surprising, then, that this flower is often associated with Javanese kings of the past. There's also a belief that the Wijaya Kusuma flower brings good luck in traditional medicine.
I guess this is about the same one. Hold on. I thought this was a different one. Here we go. I thought that was the snow orchid.
Naya was a young and virgin Indian from the Amazon. Her beauty attracted the attention of every boy in the tribe, but she ignored them all. She had decided to devote all her love to the moon. The moon was the goddess Jasi, the night's guardian. She had great admiration for young and pure girls, and sometimes she would choose one of them to turn her into a star, and so she would dance with the goddess in the skies. Naya dreamt of the day when she would finally be chosen by the goddess. Every night, the girl left her place and kept waiting for the moon to appear. When she appeared, Naya spent the night contemplating the goddess. The girl was getting weaker every day. She did nothing but wait to be grabbed by the goddess Jasi. One day, Naya, who was waiting for the moon to emerge, realized that Jasi...
You can't just wait around to get picked by the goddess, though. She's just going to pick you on her own accord, on her own time. So... we're talking about sativa, datura, all the fun plants.
appeared much closer than before. The goddess was on the water. Naya had no doubts whatsoever and threw herself into the goddess's arms, but actually, this was not the true goddess, just the reflection of the moon in the water. Naya, who was already weak, ended up drowning in the river. The goddess Jasi was moved by Naya's death. The moon turned the young woman into a beautiful water flower. And during the night, Naya could finally dance with the moon when she was reflected in the waters. And this is the story of how the goddess Jasi created the Victoria Amazonica flower, whose full splendor can only be seen at night.
The splendor. This is that's the biggest water lily in the world. It's like that big. It's like huge. But that's the myth of its origin. We've talked about this one before, the pink dolphin legend. Kind of similar stuff. I love like old indigenous South American.
The legendary Udambara flower. Udambara is a beautiful and rare flower whose stems look like silk threads, and it seems like a beautiful bell. The small white flowers on its slender stems make it less visible. Udambara flowers are located inside the fruit and are hidden inside the fruit. Legend has it that this
flower inside the fruit instead of the fruit inside the flower. That's backwards. I guess that's like a fig, though. A fig is an inverted flower. Is that kind of what we're doing here? Talking about like something that's like fig-like? Yeah, AI slop. This isn't AI slop, though. This is actually... well, I don't know if this voice is real or not. It sounds like a real person, but it's hard to tell anymore.
flower grows every 3,000 years and is a sign of rare occurrence. Udambara is a Sanskrit word meaning blessed flower of heaven. Volume 8 of the Buddhist scripture Weilin Phonetics and Interpretation states, the Udambara flower is the product of propitious and supernatural phenomena. It is a celestial flower that does not exist in the mundane world. If a Tathagata, or the king of the golden wheel, appears in the human world, this flower will appear due to his great virtue and blessings.
So basically, it can only grow in the presence of supernatural things because it can't grow in mundaneness. So, like, if you see this flower growing, it means that there was like a god or demigod or other powerful figure, a supernatural powerful figure nearby.
Interestingly, this rare, beautiful, and legendary flower has recently been seen in many parts of the world.
How many? This channel has 722. It's called Ancient Stories. And this video is from 3 years ago. There's 20 comments.
Making it possible for many people worldwide to see its blossoms. Udambara blossoms were first seen on a Buddha statue in a temple in South Korea in 1997, subsequently found in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Northern California, and Texas. In addition, they often appear on bronze Buddha statues on rocks or steel, the petals of
I
which
would like to see pictures of these, please, so that I can compare them and see what kind of flower they are. Have somebody who knows more about flower than me.
have attracted the attention of many people. A Chinese farmer was surprised to find these delicate
I have just under 1,400, not to brag.
flowers on pipes in his garden. He said, the stems of this flower are similar to slender human hairs, and about 38 small white flowers are placed on the tips of these stems. According to legend, Udambara flowers grow in space.
That'd be such a weird flower to see, like hair, like a piece of hair with like little clusters of flowers on the end. That's wild.
Pure white and are not dusty. In recent years, people who have found Udambara have reported keeping it without fading for a long time. According to Buddhism, the flower of Udambara is a flower associated with Buddhist sacred texts, a symbol of good fortune and a symbol of the holy king of fallen. When Udambara flowers appear, Maitreya appears in the human world. Buddhist mythology says that the Udambara flower blooms only once every 3,000 years, the last time before the birth of a Buddha, and can herald the emergence of a great sage. According to Buddhist mythology, its appearance heralds the arrival of a holy king who turns the wheel and corrects dharma in the world. It is said that this king accepts anyone with any religious affiliation and offers salvation to all through compassion.
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool one. I like that flower, but like I would love to see some, like, because they talk about it being seen in like California and Texas and stuff. If people are seeing this flower blooming in Buddhist temples, I would love to see pictures of it. I think they're just asserting it. Like it's not like Bigfoot where it can wander off into the woods and you never see it again. This flower should be like, you should be able to, like, they're talking about picking it and keeping it for a long time. I want to know what kind of flower it is. I want to see it. Can you show it to me?
Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Another entry here based on some of your long ago suggested entries. This one also came about 2 years or so ago, and it has to do with a cryptid or a variation of a cryptid that I've mentioned in the past. Several of my entries have been talking about these so-called living trees that have some kind of characteristic to them that either...
All trees are living, Fernando. Come on now.
Adapt to, let's say, the environment around them in a very purposeful manner, in some cases having either faces or having some kind of other, I guess, defensive attack. This one is almost close to it, except for the idea that it doesn't necessarily have like any living attributes to it per se, like an actual face or some other noise or something along those lines. But no, it adapts to the environment by ensuring that it can, I guess, in some ways trap and feed itself from some of the, I guess, people or some of the other animal wildlife that happens to walk.
How would you know, Titan? Were you there 3,000 years ago, last time they bloomed?
By it or come close to it. So I love finding and talking about these particular cryptids because the idea that there's a living tree that could be so dangerous that it actually targets humans, not necessarily specifically targeting humans, but it is included within.
It's always got to be a man-eating tree. I've actually done a video or two on man-eating. I think I've done a video on man-eating trees and on cursed trees and on giant trees. But before, but maybe I missed this one. This is supposed to be a flowering tree that controls you, though.
It's let's say delicacy. It has to do with a tree, and this is a weird name, so I'm hoping I'm saying it right. It's called the Khlebi, which is found somewhere in a place called Zululand in South Africa. So quite fascinating stuff. The only known entries, though, associated with this living tree, this Khlebi, has to do with something around the 1800s, late 1800s or so. No other entries or recorded history thus far, but 2 instances of people describing its existence add more credence to it. So what is this unique cryptid, this Khlebi, this let's say this living tree of some sort? Well, it's a plant species of sorts, again, that originated somewhere in Zululand, South Africa. The very first known example, I guess you could say, of...
I guess the reason this one made the flower list because it's poisonous fruit that releases gases. I might be one of these trees.
It happened to be in a journal called Nature by a reverend, of all things, a Reverend G.W. Parker. It seemed like he was there in South Africa as part of some kind of missionary status. Like he was there, I guess, to spread the word when it came to his religion. And in doing so, that's when he came across this particular species of tree, of a living tree. Now, what makes it different from other trees is the fact that it actively ensures that it can create something to help trap its prey. Not in the sense of, like, let's say a Venus flytrap, which are infamous, probably the most famous example of all when it comes to trapping prey. No, in this case, this thing, whatever it is, whatever species of tree it is, it essentially creates some kind of poison. How this poison comes about is still not really known per se, but it seems like there's this poison that it fertilizes the soil around it with. And on top of that, it purposely grounds itself within...
Is it poison or fertilizer? Because I don't think it can be both at the same time.
Let's say really rocky terrains, so that way it is the only tree, quote-unquote tree, within that area. That has to be a conscious choice because its whole existence is based on the fact that once something, either a person or another living animal, comes close in contact with it, this poison that happens to be around it infects that person or infects those animals, and then those people die out. And when they die right near that tree, and that's how it feeds itself, because afterward, when that person or the animals begin the process of decay, it helps fertilize the soil around it, and that's how it continues its existence. So again, I think that's a very conscious choice, like a living animal of some sort, for it to ensure that it is found just in pretty much only rocky, barren terrain, so that way it's the only tree around. That way, whenever an animal...
So, but it's the poison in the ground, not fertilizing it. Why'd you call it fertilizer?
Well, let's say it's coming around it, it sees it as the only thing to really truly eat around. Like, let's say there's an animal that only eats leaves or some kind of other plant life, and it sees this thing. It has no choice in all of the rocky terrain surrounding it from one let's say end of the environment to the other. It comes across it, then it eats whatever it eats there. It gets poisoned by it, and then it dies, and then that's it. Then that thing decays, and then it becomes food for the tree itself. So very, very fascinating stuff. The other instance that was reported was a guy by the name of Henry Callaway in some book called The Religious System.
Bugbot's asking the important questions, because since this is going to be, well, we got one more after this, but what's been your favorite flower so far? I didn't find a fire flower. I looked for one, like from Mario Brothers. If anybody knows about a mythical fire flower, though, I would love to cover that.
Of the Amazulu. This one was published in 1870, and there it records several stories related to the tree. Nothing really distinctive as far as the tree and how it looks like, but for one thing, it seems like the layers of the tree itself, one layer, the outside layer, seems to be your traditional bark. Like, it's the bark.
You talking about this one? Jelebi?
It's grayish, almost blackish, as much as you would think as your average bark is, because it's dead. It's a dead outer layer, but the underneath portion of it, that seems to be distinct. It seems to have some kind of reddish, blackish hue underneath it. So it's a living layer of some sort. How this thing is considered living, I don't know. Don't know if it necessarily, let's say, glows periodically, or if you see some things moving underneath the bark, but that seems to be the most distinct feature of it. So if you ever come across something that looks like that, where it's a reddish, let's say it's your average tree, it has your standard bark on the outside, but underneath it you seem to see a different layer underneath, a living layer that seems to produce, let's say, some reddish, blackish hue of some sort, then that's where this thing is as well. Also,
so once you eat its fruit so that you become fertilizer.
Fruit that some people have cited that seems to grow from this also has a reddish and blackish hue as well. That may be actually the fruit itself that is also poisonous. Who knows?
Hippomane mancinella. Hippomane, that's horse mane. Mancinella. I don't know if I can translate that one.
And then on top of that, there's another way to easily distinct it from others, and that is the idea that there should be skeletons lying around this.
I don't know if that was like a fake Magic the Gathering card, though.
because of the victims tied to it. Also, there's the idea where if it has some kind of, I guess, closest defense, if you would, if something ever damages it, like let's say one of its limbs is cut off or part of its bark is forcibly removed, a large chunk of it, it's supposed to release some kind of dangerous fluid, some kind of, I guess you could call it poisonous fluid as well, which is another form of its attack. So some of the symptoms, in fact,
my attack is to release fluid as well. It's usually pee in my pants, though.
People reported back then, as far as it being poisoned by this tree, has to do with the fact of having severe headaches, bloodshot eyes, just overall.
Tree of death or beach apple? Okay.
All pain, especially in the abdominal area, and then some of the more severe items were constant diarrhea, very, very strong fever, and then finally delirium, and then death. So of course that's the worst of it all when it comes to being poisoned by this tree. There's even the idea that maybe, just maybe, and again this it's hard to chronicle because there's no other known instances or evidence or
do not eat apples from the mangonel tree. Sounds like that's sound advice, I'm guessing. Mangonella, Ella.
Evidence of this thing at all, but there's also the idea that it may have even
I'm guessing, yeah, Ella.
Created some kind of poisonous gas as another way to ensure that it could capture its victims, which would be the worst of all scenarios because you wouldn't necessarily have to even been close to this thing. And maybe again, if this was truly a living item, and it sensed or noticed that something else was coming nearby, some other living item, again, a human or
like, it could be like reverse colonialism too, where they imported the death apple from Europe down into South Africa, and that's what the folklore, the people there thought about it when they brought it down.
Animal, then it could direct that poisonous gas straight to that entity or that person, and it knows it. That's when they would be infected, and that's when there would be deaths occurring left and right. So, in fact, it was so prominent back then in the 1800s that the local Zulus would actually sacrifice sheep, if you can believe it, sheep and goats, straight to the tree. My guess is that they would take these living creatures, these sheep and goats, and then just kill them right there by the tree if they let's say thought that one of those trees happened to be this Umtlibi, and when that happens, they would probably place it right by the tree as a form of a sacrifice, and then just through natural decay itself, then the sheep and the goats would disappear. But at least to the local Zulus, it would seem like the tree was taking this offering and then consuming it to them. But that's how much ingrained the idea was that yes, this is something that has some kind of living status, so much so that to the local Zulus as well, that to them it encased some kind of evil spirit in some cases, and they wanted to make sure that this was a way to calm this evil spirit down. So quite fascinating stuff. No, the notion that there is, again, another version of a living tree out there, one that targets victims, one that is able to create some kind of defensive stance to them, one that may even
death
contain
apple.
At least according to the local Zulus, some kind of evil spirits. I still love the idea that this thing purposely inhabits these rocky terrains, ensuring that it remains the only place for people or animals to come by visit. People in some cases try to maybe find food or maybe find shelter, or animals also try to find food, and then that's how it traps, and that's how it ensures it creates and captures its prey. So
yeah, in a Rihanna song, Under My Umbrella, Ella. Yeah.
All very fascinating information. If anyone has any more info that could be tied to this unique cryptid, that'd be great to hear. Nothing really afterward, unfortunately. Wherever this tree was there in South Africa, in Zululand, if it's still there, then it has remained well hidden because there's no known instance going into 1900s or the 2000s of anybody encountering this creature, or even more specifically, having any kind of, let's say, proof about its existence. But again, the idea that two known, I guess, articles of some sort, one the religious system of the Amazulu and the other one a journal called Nature, chronicled its existence, that makes you wonder that yes, there really truly was a chance that this thing existed. So all fascinating stuff. So all right, everybody, thanks again.
My favorite Rihanna song is S&M. That's a fun song. All right, here's the last one, and this isn't even a mythical thing. This is a real plant. It's called the Rose of Jericho. It's a resurrection plant. It can be like pretty much completely look like dead and dried up, and you can restore it. Really cool. So we're just going to watch this real quick because I think it's interesting. It was the desert sand all wet. It's going to give it more nutrient soil, right? Sand. Look at the cover. Look at that. right. So that was our coverage of mystical, magical plants from around the world, or mystical, magical flowering plants, I guess we should be specific about, because we've talked about other magical plants in the past, but this one was specifically about the flowers. The Rose of Jericho is the resurrection fern, yes, and it's a desert plant, so it goes dormant for months and months at a time, sometimes years at a time, and then when it gets wet, it just unfurls. Really cool. There's lots of interesting plants. A lot that we didn't get to cover, but yeah. No contemporary pop song is yet to come anywhere close to the very popular Your Hymnic song, though they do keep trying. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Edible and medicinal plants. Yeah, I like ornamental plants too, but again, that's the same thing with like keeping animals in a cage. Like I don't like when people keep a plant in an environment that it's not supposed to be in. Like there's like a golf course behind me, right? And I'm in the middle of a desert, and it's just acres and acres of not artificial grass, of real grass that is maintained artificially by pumping hundreds of gallons of water, thousands of gallons of water every day, and then it's still barely sustained. To me it just seems wasteful, and I like that the javelinas are come and drink from the water, because at least some of the desert life is benefiting from there being water. You can hear the javelina out there sometime, and me and Henry actually tracked a javelina through the desert recently, but they come to the golf course. The coyotes do too, to drink at night when the sprinklers come on. So if we open our windows, we can hear them. All right. So, like, when it comes to mystical plants, though, was there any that I missed that you think I should cover? What I covered here? Do you think it was accurate? Let me know in the comments down below. And please remember to be kind. Take care. We'll see you next time. All right, friends, don't go anywhere. There's more show to come. We got a whole segment on Orcas coming up, so you don't want to miss that. I'm going to be back after this short intermission. I gotta go to the bathroom again. It's the coffee. And remember what my coffee cup says. Be kind. No matter what, be kind. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. The cool thing about bears, too, is that the brown bears, under the umbrella of brown bears, is actually the polar bears. They're grouped within that clade because there are clades of brown bears that are closer related to polar bears than they are to other brown bears. Polar bears are just a subclade of brown bears that have to live in an Arctic environment over generations. And they're actually, as it warms up a little bit, they're moving back inland and starting to interbreed back in with other brown bear populations. That's going to be the best for their genetic descendants for them to interact with and interbreed with other populations of brown bears that aren't so adapted to this Arctic marine environment anymore. That's disappearing. All right, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to Bree's Bestiary, where I discuss whatever animal I feel like discussing, honestly. And yeah, today we're discussing orcas, and specifically we're discussing orcas in captivity attacking their trainers because orcas don't belong in captivities. This is the same situation I talk about with elephants and apes for that matter, but we are looking at one of these extreme animal channels, 119k subscribers. This is the only way I can do animal content because I can say I'm rebutting what they say. They won't let me just do straight up animal content. I have to like respond to things in order for it to not get, oh, you got to pay for this footage of this whale or whatever. So that's why I do it this way. If people wonder why I do response videos all the time, it's because the algorithm kind of requires me to, or else. So I tried to make an animal channel before. I tried to make an animal channel that was called Bree's Bestiary, but it would not let me monetize anything, or more than half the stuff would get taken down just because the footage that's available is all owned by somebody. But if somebody's using it in a video like this and I can respond to it, that makes a difference. Can't help but notice that this channel's extreme logo looks a lot like the X logo from like from what they changed Twitter to. It's kind of backwards, but about the same. All right, let's dive into it, literally, because we're talking about orcas here.
Of the killer whale, but she was stuck. The lifeless eye of the orca stared at her as he dragged her even deeper.
Wait a second.
She tried desperately to wrench her foot free from the jaws of the killer whale, but she was stuck. The lifeless eye of the orca stared at her as he dragged her even deeper.
Why is this eye lifeless? That's weird.
All she could do was scream into the water, watching the bubbles of her last breath float to the surface. From crushing blows to missing limbs, these are the 4 worst orca attacks in human history. There's a reason they call them killer whales. As always, viewer discretion is advised.
Again, yeah, viewers discretion advised here as well, but this is going to be YouTube-friendly content, so it shouldn't be too graphic, but the stories will be graphic. And sometimes we've seen videos where that pops in where somebody's like a hunting video, so I can show you this video of someone, and that caught me off guard when we were talking about coyotes. Video of people shooting coyotes in the wild, and I hated every second of it, and I'm sorry that it came up on my channel and that I aired it. So nothing should come up like that on this one, though.
When I think about Christmas, I think of lights and trees, eggnog, last-minute gifts, and time with family. But this isn't that kind of holiday story. On Christmas Eve morning in 2009, Estefania Rodriguez heard her phone ring. She looked at the display and saw her fiancé's name, Alexis Martinez. She answered, expecting to hear the love of her life. What she didn't know was that she would never hear Alexis's voice ever again. It was a call from Loro Parque, one of the largest tourist attractions in the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa. It was also where her fiancé worked as a trainer, a job that Alexis loved. Loro Parque had all kinds of animals, from red pandas to gorillas, lions, lemurs, and sloths. But the park's most famous attraction was its killer whales, housed in a section of the park called Orca Ocean. Alexis was one of the best orca trainers at the park. I can't imagine the pressure of caring for a killer whale.
I don't think that people should care for killer whales. I think killer whales belong in the wild. That's my final thought on that. Oh, welcome to the show, Dave. At least you're catching the last segment. This is about the orcas.
Top of that, putting on shows and getting these wild beasts to be on their best behavior for the crowds of people who paid money to see them. Alexis had to be extremely careful about training his orcas to listen to his cues, and he also made sure they were healthy and happy. But the problem was that Alexis
orcas cannot be happy in these any more than a human can be happy in like a prison cell. So don't give me this the orca was happy shit.
Bothered by what was happening at the park. He worked every day with the killer whales. He fed them, gave them medicines, and monitored their behavior. But he knew that something was wrong. Very wrong. He told his fiancée that he worried that something could happen at any time.
See the teeth that they were showing you there? The broken teeth? So he was having dental problems, the whale was. Yes and no on the orcas not being whales. So they're cetaceans, which some people will say this means whales, but they're toothed whales in Delphinidae, which is generally considered dolphins. So if you consider all cetaceans to be whales, then dolphins are a type of whale. But you can use the term whale polyphyletically to mean non-toothed whale. What's the word I'm looking for? Mysticete whales. But that also excludes sperm whales from being whales. So its classification is weird.
He told his fiancée that he worried that something could happen at any time.
Absolutely, whales and dolphins do not belong in captivity at all.
If you've watched my channel, you know that I cover a lot of pretty awful mistakes and horrific injuries.
I mean, and I want to be clear, I'm not totally against keeping anything in captivity. There's definitely species that are able to thrive and live healthy lives in captivity. However, that with certain requirements that should not be minimum requirements for the species. I've never seen a zoo that satisfies me that the animals have the quality of life that they would need to thrive. I've never seen it. Never seen that in a zoo. I've seen herpetariums where the animals were definitely living their best lives, but that's because herps are a lot easier to appease their needs, like an alligator or crocodile with a nice big still pond that they can hang out in all the time is like in hog heaven, right? That's not, but I digress. I'm not trying to anthropomorphize and say, well, these animals are more human-like, but they have a higher functioning brain, and they need more environmental stimulation than they can receive in that brain, or in that tiny cage. It's just a fact that it causes them mental anguish. Apes, whales, and dolphins. A lot of big carnivorans. There's situations, like I said, with something's albino or something where it won't survive in the wild. Sure, do what you need to do to help it, or an animal that's blind, or an animal that has an injury or something. Sure, you can take it into captivity, but just in general, just keeping them in captivity for entertainment purposes is kind of gross.
Even if you're not around killer whales like Alexis, it seems like freak injuries are everywhere you look. And here's something you might not know. If you ever do find yourself seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. That's where Morgan & Morgan comes in. They fight back when insurance companies try to lowball your claim if you become their client. They recently secured verdicts.
The drunk history about that lab, though, Entropy fan, the drunk history about that is hilarious. With it had shoot, I can't remember who all was in it now. It slipped my mind. It's hilarious, though.
Of $12 million in Florida and $26 million in Philadelphia, 34 and 40 times higher than the initial offers, respectively. And even better, their fee is absolutely free unless you win your case. If you ever got seriously injured, your case could be worth millions. The QR code on screen to get started.
Keep getting caught up in commercials.
Going back to Alexis and his tragic story, the problem was that one whale named Keto wasn't happy, and it was the whale that Alexis was worrying about. Keto was born in captivity, so he'd never seen the ocean. He'd never used his natural killer instincts to hunt. He was born in SeaWorld in Florida.
No, I've hunted before. Hunted raccoons and deers in Turkey. And I guess fishing is a type of hunting, but yeah. I've never actively hunt fish with a bow or anything. Just catch them on the line. But I'm not a hunter. I was not good at it. it kind of wrecks me emotionally.
Florida, before being shipped over 4,000 miles away to the Canary Islands. But ever since Quito arrived, the 6,600-pound whale had been giving the park problems. He wouldn't listen to the trainers. He stopped obeying orders partway through shows. The 14-year-old orca was even being aggressive at times with the other whales. Alexis tried very hard to help Quito adjust to his life in a new tank, but he was struggling with his workload. So, when Estefania answered the call that morning and heard the voice of Alexis's boss, she knew that Alexis had been right. Something very bad had happened, but all they told her was that Alexis was being taken to the hospital because of an incident at the pool. Was it serious? Was Alexis injured? She pushed, but they refused to give her more information. In a panic, Estefania hopped in her car to find Alexis. They'd been together for 7 years.
like a lawyer commercial. Have you been injured by a whale at work? Did the aquarium owner force you to get into the tank with a unfamiliar large cetacean? You may be entitled to compensation.
And they had only just moved in together. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. With rising panic, Estefania finally arrived at the hospital, and what she saw there terrified her even further. In the lobby of the hospital was Loro Parque's president, along with another stern-looking man, the park's lawyer. Soon after she arrived, Estefania learned that Alexis wasn't injured, like she had secretly hoped. Alexis had actually died an hour before she ever got the call from his phone. His worry was real, and he was the victim that proved his own prophecy. As Estefania walked into where Alexis lay, all she could see was his face and head. Everything else was carefully wrapped up in cloth.
Oh man, it was gruesome. Then I figured he got drowned.
Doctors told her that Alexis had drowned, and just like the park, they refused to give her any more information. The park wouldn't talk to her, and neither would Alexis's fellow trainers. Someone was working hard to keep this incident a secret. It was several months later when Estefania finally learned the truth about what actually happened that Christmas Eve morning. A terrible truth about exactly how violently Alexis had died.
Oh my.
It was a typical morning with Alexis and his orcas. They were frantically trying to get ready for the big Christmas show the next day.
Bye, Ember.
Alexis was happy because Quito looked like he was in a good mood. He was listening well and responding to his commands. But without warning, Quito stopped responding and started hunting.
Like this, Titan? I have a big elastic mouth. Crazy tongue, too. Like a crazy big tongue.
During a routine trick, Quito got between Alexis and the safety of the platform. Alexis was in the water and was about to perform a popular trick where he rode on the back of Quito, showing off the crowds in the stands. All of a sudden...
He didn't want to be your pony, though. People shouldn't be riding orcas.
Quito turned on Alexis and slammed his nose hard into Alexis's chest, pushing him violently down to the bottom of the pool. Quito had become the predator and his trainer. Alexis would be the prey. The other trainers who knew about Quito's moods tried to get the whale to stop, but Quito was no longer listening. His killer instincts took over as Quito bit again and again, leaving big gashes all over Alexis's body. One trainer finally got Quito's attention as the orca rose to the surface, and he was lifting the body back up to the surface, balancing Alexis on his nose. But when he came out of the water, Alexis just slipped off the orca and fell back to the depths again. Alexis was already dead. Using a tactic orcas use to hunt in the wild, Quito's first blow killed Alexis, causing massive internal injuries.
But he didn't know it would kill Alexis. Obviously, he even tried to bring him back up to the surface so he could breathe. It sounds like the whale was like... did not know the limitations of a human, maybe? And... because that's what they do. Like, even when they have a baby in the wild, they want to push it up to the surface so they can breathe. So it seems like the whale was like, oh no, you should still be alive. Don't sink again. Like, it didn't know that he was going to be dead. I don't know, maybe.
It was that single blow that was enough to crush bones and stop his heart. It took some time, but the trainers were finally able to move Keto to another tank. By then, rescuers felt safe enough to dive to the bottom of the tank and pull up Alexis's body. I can see why the hospital didn't want Estefania to see her fiancé's body. It was covered in gashes, bites, and bruises, evidence of a death that was far from accidental. Nobody should have to see that.
Oh,
and when
wow.
the truth of Alexis's violent death came out,
Man.
authorities
Usually
found...
when I talk about orca attacks, there's not a lot of... It's like drowning, right? It literally holds them underwater and they drown. They don't chew them up. That's crazy.
that Loro Parque had a history of covering up violent attacks. Just 2 years before, another orca had attacked its trainer. But Alexis never knew that, until it was too late for him. Keto was an actual killer, but he wasn't the worst. It might surprise you to learn that there have only ever been 4 deaths caused by orcas. But 3 of them were caused by the same whale. A true killer with a tally of victims, each more shocking than the last. Anybody who's ever been in the pool with a killer whale is bound to get hurt.
People should have stopped swimming with this orca.
Bruises and bumps are normal when you're working with 10,000-pound animals. But up until 1991, no one truly believed that the giant beasts would actually live up to their deadly name. And certainly not 20-year-old Kelty Byrne. She was a whale trainer at Sealand of the Pacific, a popular public aquarium on Vancouver Island, Canada. Most people believed she had the dream career, and it truly was a dream. Every day, Kelty walked into work, excited about working with the most intelligent sea creatures. She was lucky, and she knew it. But Kelty's job was more than just running shows and throwing fish into the whales' mouths.
People should not be jumping into pools with orcas. Just in general, it's a bad idea. Right? But orcas shouldn't be in pools either, so it's kind of a double thing there.
Task was to keep the orcas happy. Not an easy job. These massive creatures travel entire oceans in pods of dozens. Keeping them in a small tank meant that Kelty needed to keep these whales from going crazy. She had to play with them, teach them new tricks, make sure they got along well with each other, and had enough exercise. On top of everything, Kelty had to be friends with the whales. Again, not an easy job, because Sealand of the Pacific didn't just have...
The only real hybrid is Stephen Miller. Yeah.
One orca. They had 3, including the biggest orca ever kept in captivity. His name was Tillicum, or Tilly for short, a massive 12,500-pound orca that came from the waters off Iceland. Tilly had been in captivity for 8 years when Kelty joined the team. Tilly had a big personality, and the
he should have never been in captivity at all.
trainers learned
God, I
to
keep repeating that over and over again, but I cannot stress that enough, how much these are animals that do not belong in a cage, in a tank, and in...
his moods. Some days, Tilly was fun and playful. On other days, they took one look in his eye and said, "Nope, not getting near the water today." But there was a problem at Sealand. Even though Tilly was big, he was getting bullied. The other 2 female orcas saw Tilly as a threat. They pushed him around. They raked their sharp teeth along his body until he was scratched raw. They didn't let him play with them. Orcas thrive on relationships, and so when he was made the outcast, he didn't react well. But in spite of this, Kelty loved him all the same. She worked daily with him. She taught him to perform flips and waves and moves for the crowds that visited the aquarium. She fed him his favorite fish. And this is why it's so surprising what Tilly did one random Wednesday afternoon. On a typically rainy day, February 20th, 1991,
Yeah, remember this
Kelty
is like up in Vancouver, right? So it's, yeah, a typical rainy day.
ran through her normal routines with the whales. After some checks of the pools and the animals, Kelty
Wait a
got...
second, is Tilly supposed to be... Is that who Willie was based on from Free Willy? Remember Free Willy, right? The killer whale movie with the kid that helps the whale escape. Maybe someone needed to do that for Tilly.
ready for the afternoon show. She gathered the whale's favorite playthings. She packed Herring into coolers to give as treats. And then, when the crowds arrived, Kelty gave them an exciting display of these beautiful animals. After all the people had left to see the other animals in the aquarium, Kelty started cleaning up around the pool. To unwind the animals after a rigorous show, Kelty liked to give the orcas some playtime. It was meant to be fun. It was meant to let the whales blow off some energy. But it wasn't meant to turn into a tragedy. Kelty gathered up the balls and floaties. She picked up her cooler of fish. But as she walked alongside the orcas, she somehow stumbled.
There's no chance for happiness in this setting, right? It's like saying, oh, you can keep a human in a cage as long as you give them like a ball to bounce against the wall, to toss back and forth. They'll be fine. These are intelligent animals that are used to being able to free roam over hundreds of miles, thousands of miles.
Into the pool. At first, she seemed fine and tried to climb out of the pool, but that's when Kelty felt the presence of Tilly behind her. Without warning, Tilly grabbed Kelty's foot and pulled her back into the water. Her screams were cut off as Tilly dragged Kelty helplessly down to the bottom of the pool. Other trainers heard Kelty's frantic screams and ran to the pool to help. But the orcas weren't listening to any of the normal cues. The whistles had no effects. Slaps on the water were doing nothing. Tilly was worked up and ready to play. And instead of balls and fish, Kelty became Tilly's new toy. Her body bobbed up and down in the water as the orcas pushed and pulled her around the tank. And every time Kelty's head broke free, she desperately gasped enough air to scream the names of her trainers. She was a champion swimmer, excellent in the pool, but the whales were stronger. Fellow trainer Karen McGee remembered the terrible incident.
You ain't never gonna outswim an orca, though.
I heard her scream my name, she said. She tried to throw rings for Kelty to grab, but the orcas wouldn't let her anywhere near safety. As time dragged on, the trainers became frantic. They tried to hook Kelty's body or catch her with a net, but to the whales, it was all a big game. After 10 minutes of this, Kelty's head popped up.
Like a dog playing keep away with something that's not supposed to have. Like, you ever had a dog run off with your like bald socks or like your underwear or something? Henry does it sometimes, and you have to chase them around to try to get it back from them. And they're, oh, this is a game, but they're doing this with a human that's slowly drowning.
One more time. Those watching will never forget her dying screams as Kelty was again pulled down and her body dragged around the tank. It was the last time anybody would hear from her.
Go France. Yeah, I like France. Let's be more like France.
Again. It was another 2 hours before the trainers managed to recover the limp body from the bottom of the pool. They attached weights to the net and managed to pull Kelty out of the water. But it was too late to resuscitate her. Kelty had just become the first human ever to be killed by a killer whale. The coroner's report listed her death as accidental, forcibly drowned by an orca. I can't imagine how hard it would have been to be a trainer at that aquarium. Despite what happened, they still had to feed the 3 orcas. They had to clean their tank.
That is exactly right, Entropy fans. Like, these people should not be getting in the water with these animals in the first place. And they're like, oh my gosh, and it attacked, and we just never saw it coming. You never saw a 12,000 pound predator that eats mammals bigger than a human would decide to take a bite out of a human. That never crossed your mind?
Give them medicines and play with these killers. How would you respond knowing they had drowned your friend, but you still had to look after them? Because it wasn't an attack. It was a genuine accident. The whales were excited for their play session, and for them, Kelty was part of the fun. Because trainers weren't allowed to swim with the whales, Tilly got overwhelmed and excited to have Kelty in the pool with him. He didn't understand that what was fun for him was deadly for her. In fact, as Kelty stopped moving, the whales were careful to keep her near the surface. But by that point, it was already too late. Kelty's death meant the end of Sealand. The aquarium was closed soon after. The whales were shipped off to SeaWorld in Orlando, and aquariums and parks around the world suddenly appreciated the raw power and deadly might behind these seemingly gentle giants.
So, like, when I was
Kelty's
a kid,
death forever
when I was a kid in the 90s, SeaWorld and Orca shows and everything was like, oh my gosh, that's what they made me want to be a scientist. They made me want to be a marine biologist. They made me want to study the whales and work with the whales. That's what they inspired in me. But I didn't know as a child, the problem with it, the issues with it. Now as an adult looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like look at this picture. Look how tiny this tank is compared to the size of this animal. So do you see how big this animal is and how much room it has to live in? That's as big as my room compared to this guy, right? That's like him having me only having this room just to live in day out, never leaving, never being able to leave. It's got to be like for these poor creatures.
Changed how trainers worked with orcas. Although Kelty's death ended the aquarium, it wasn't the end for Tilly. It seems that although Tilly was one of the smartest orcas at the aquarium, he still hadn't learned his lesson. What I have next has to be one of the weirdest stories about someone dying from an orca attack. You already know the whale, but when I tell you what Tilly did, you'll have more questions than answers about what actually happened. On Tuesday morning, July 6, 1999, trainer Michael Dougherty showed up at SeaWorld Orlando for his morning shift. It was just after 7 a.m., and it was a good time to be at the park. The crowds were a couple of hours away from showing up. The attractions were still quiet, and the animals were just starting to wake. Just like any other routine workday, Michael walked into the viewing area below the waterline of G Pool, where SeaWorld held their orcas for research and breeding. He expected to see their enormous orca Tilly swimming around the tank. But what Michael found instead sparked off an investigation that no one can fully understand. As Michael came to the window looking into the tank, he saw what looked like feet in the pool next to Tilly. And when he climbed up the poolside, his worst fears were confirmed. There, draped over Tilly's back as he swam around his tank, was a naked man. A very naked and very dead man. But who was he? What happened to him? And how did he make...
See, in this thing, I mean, we've all been there. We've all woken up with a dead naked man in our room or whatever. And obviously you're going to want to play with it. You're going to put it on your back and run around and stuff. And the fact that they're just saying, oh, that you must have killed the man, no, he was dead when he landed in my tank. I'm just playing with him because I'm stuck in this prison cell. Keep forgetting I don't have the play button up here anymore.
His way into one of the most protected tanks in the whole park. Trainers and SeaWorld staff helped rescuers recover the body from the tank, but it still wasn't clear what had happened throughout the night. The man was blue in the face, with scratches and cuts all over his body. But there was only one bite mark, where Tilly had cleanly bit off the man's privates with his razor-sharp teeth.
Ow!
Next to the pool, they found a neatly stacked pile of clothes.
Damn, new bottom surgeries just dropped. Ouch. I would hope not, Ryan. Good. Oh.
Later, divers found several items in the pool.
That would explain the reaction, though. If he tried to fuck the whale that he got his dick bit off. People should not... This is like those kids that jumped in the... We talked about a couple weeks ago that jumped into the cage with the polar bears. You don't do that. You don't get into the water with these animals.
Including 3 pieces of human remains floating around the tank. It looked like the man had decided to climb into Tilly's pool in the night and go for a little swim. I'd like to think that he didn't know that there was an orca in the pool. The pile of clothes did little to help the authorities solve the mystery. There were some scraps of paper, a couple of dollars in change, and a worn photo ID. Using the ID and some fingerprints, the investigators determined that this was the body of 27-year-old Daniel Dukes. But who was Daniel Dukes? A friend of someone in the park? There were still so many questions. Daniel didn't have a permanent address.
So Hare
He
Krishna.
was a drifter around Florida, with several arrest reports on his record. He'd just been released a few days earlier, before coming down to Orlando. He had been staying in the Hare Krishna temple in Miami for a month before that. As best as the police could figure out, Daniel had bought a ticket for SeaWorld the day before. He must have found a place to hide out until the park was empty. And when no one was around, he decided to go for a swim with one of the most deadly animals the park had on display. Daniel probably just wanted to have some fun, but he didn't know anything about Tilly's deadly reputation. Remember, We don't have camera footage or witnesses. All we have is our best guess.
Don't get in the
Tilly
water with
was
Tilly.
a curious whale, so Daniel's late-night dip would have instantly grabbed Tilly's attention. His lethal attention. He probably dragged Daniel down into 50-degree water, maybe for hours. And what about that bite? Animal experts who knew Tilly well said that he never would have seen swimming shorts like that before. Tilly was probably biting off the shorts to investigate them when he accidentally bit Daniel. He might have been trying to be really gentle, but gentle for whales is different from gentle for humans. I'm afraid that I am all out of facts here. All we have left are theories.
So, Ryan, your theory could be right. I don't know if he was trying to love the whale. I don't know.
And more questions. For example, how did no one spot a stranger sneaking around the park late at night? And why bother to set up cameras for the benefit of the animals if no one is watching them? And why did a cleaner not notice the pale, naked body of a man when he swept the pool earlier that morning?
What?
The only man who can answer those for us was Tilly's second victim. But again, Tilly remained on show at SeaWorld, because nobody at the park suspected that his third and final victim would be the most horrible of them all. When Dawn was just a 9-year-old girl, her family took her to SeaWorld. She was amazed by the orcas swimming past her in the tanks. Immediately, she said that she would become
We're
a
running
whale
a little bit longer today, but yeah, I wanted to finish this up. There's only about 6 minutes
trainer
left.
when she grew up. But unlike many other kids who say they'll be doctors or train conductors but never do, Dawn actually fulfilled her lifelong dream. She worked hard her whole life to become the person her 9-year-old self would have loved. In university,
See,
she
but you should
studied
be like me and Purple, because me and Purple also both wanted to be, you know, part of this whole captive whale scene, right? When we were kids, and now I realize it's horrible. Why didn't you grow up and realize it was horrible, Dawn? And advocate for the whales' liberation instead.
animal psychology and behavior. She worked with dolphins for years, building up the skills to train marine mammals. She even worked hard outside of the pool to keep fit enough to handle the workload. And finally, when Dawn turned 27, she landed a job at SeaWorld in Orlando. Within 2 years of working at SeaWorld, Dawn became their head trainer. She was passionate about all animals, not just the whales under her care. In her own home, she kept ducks, chickens, rabbits, birds, and 2 black labs. And because of her infectious smile, Dawn became the face of SeaWorld. I mean, she was literally the poster girl for the park, featured on all the
like
billboards.
a Steve Irwin is to the Australia Zoological Garden, right?
Signs and ads. She and Tilly. Dawn worked with all the...
Yeah, and I try not to come at Steve Irwin about this stuff too much, but you know, there's a lot of this stuff that I talk about, like Ocean Ramsey or the people at SeaWorld and stuff that I complain about, that I'm giving Steve Irwin a pass on. And that I know I am. It is a bias, right? But I mean, the man's dead now. I don't know if he would have changed his practices as he got older. I don't know, but
Orcas at SeaWorld.
I can't have a double standard.
But by far, her favorite was Tilly. The 22-foot orca was kind, gentle, and very responsive to Dawn. The two of them shared a close bond that no other trainer had. Those who worked with Dawn would say that their relationship was special. She clearly loved Tilly, and it looked like Tilly loved her back. But can you ever really know what an animal is thinking?
Tilly had already killed 2 people at this point. We shouldn't be getting in the water with Tilly. You shouldn't be riding on Tilly's head.
Can you ever predict what they'll do next? I suppose that with an animal like Tilly, you should be prepared for the worst. On February 24th, 2010, Dawn was leading a private show called Dine with Shamu. For those lucky guests who paid extra, they got to eat a special lunch while Dawn and Tilly gave them a private performance. Normally,
this is sort of a respect the dead kind of episode, right? It's like every one of these people was getting in the water. Well, I don't know. The first lady, I don't think she got in the water willingly, but regardless, she was like people harboring these wild animals basically like you said, in a fishbowl. Or the second guy was like, I'm going to jump in the water with this giant animal. And this woman's like, I'm going to control this giant animal and make it do tricks for me for my entertainment.
A once-in-a-lifetime experience with an up-close and personal show with a killer whale. Only this time, it was a performance that none of the guests would ever forget. The show wrapped up just after 1 p.m., and Dawn fed Tilly some extra herring she had in her cooler. And then Dawn lay down on a concrete slab right next to the pool. The slab allowed Dawn to get face-to-face with Tilly, in a position that trainers called a relationship session. Basically, Dawn talked to Tilly, reassured him, and stroked his nose and cheeks. It was meant to be a time to build bonding and trust, but something in the wild orca's
An
brain...
entropy fan, I understand the desire. I don't condone it, but I understand the desire to pet, like, wildlife. Absolutely. Human hubris knows no bounds. Exactly, Sandy.
Switched. All of a sudden, Dawn's long ponytail drifted through the water over to Tilly's mouth, and without a sound, Tilly grabbed the hair and pulled Dawn down into the pool. But you should know that trainers never work alone with animals, especially an orca the size of Tilly. The killer whale was almost 100 times heavier than Dawn, which is why SeaWorld used a backup trainer to act as a lookout. On this day, Dawn's spotter
But if they don't have, if there's nothing that they can do, what's the point? What's the good of a lookout?
The alarm as soon as Dawn went below the surface. A call known as Signal 500 went out over every radio in the park. All employees knew the alarm. It meant that someone was in trouble in G-Pool, and that meant the worst kind of trouble. Someone was in with the killer whales. As trainers rushed to the poolside, 20 guests watched in horror as the whale hit and pounded against Dawn's body. Up and down and around again. Tilly swung Dawn around like she was nothing more than a plaything. Tilly would drop the hair and then grab Dawn by the foot or the arm, dragging her down deeper every time. Eventually, park employees ushered the stunned crowd away from the windows, but not before one girl innocently asked if she would be okay. I would have hated to be the one who had to tell that girl what had actually happened. When employees realized which whale was in G-Pool, they were struck dumb. Everyone at the park knew that when Tilly had something in his mouth, he didn't like to give it up. But today, he had his favorite trainer lodged firmly in his powerful jaws. The other trainers tried everything they could to distract Tilly or get him to release Dawn from the bottom. But he was a stubborn whale, and he ignored every command and whistle and slap on the water. After what felt like
and this is the third time that this whale has done this to somebody. He's making it very clear that he doesn't want people around him, that if he decides at any point in time that the people around him are bothering him, he's going to kill them. Leave this fucking whale alone.
Minutes, trainers were finally able to corner Tilly and pry open his mouth to release Dawn. But she was already dead. Only after they pulled her body onto dry land did they realize that Tilly still had Dawn's arm in his teeth. Emergency crews pronounced her dead at the scene. The next day, the coroner listed the dozens of serious injuries Dawn suffered under the water. The report tells a ferocious tale, leaving no doubt that killer whales can be powerfully...
It's a giant predator. Holy
frightening
shit.
Predators. Amazingly, the coroner listed the death as accidental, but those who watched the horror unfold would never believe it. To those who watched Dawn's death, they could see that the killer whale knew exactly what he was doing. He had ignored years of trust, and
because he had done it twice before.
One bloody moment killed the one trainer who loved him the most. After the incident, SeaWorld banned all trainers from getting close to Tilly again, and the courts later found SeaWorld at fault for her death, saying that the park hadn't done enough to keep
exactly, Purple.
Its trainers safe. Tilly never killed again, but his horrific attacks became legends, including a famous documentary about his life called Blackfish. He lived out the
Blackfish. It's actually very good.
rest of his days at SeaWorld until he died at the old age of 36. If you take one thing away from these stories, it's that you should always respect Mother Nature. You can tame and train an animal, but it's always going to be an animal. Keep that in mind the next time you visit a zoo or an aquarium.
Or
Want to
just
support the channel?
Or don't visit one. That works too. Like, and this is something that's developed in me over the last few years. I used to try to like be like, okay, well, you know, zoos, aquariums, they do conservation work that helps fund the research and stuff. But the more time goes on, more time goes by, the older I get, the wiser I get, the more I'm just against the whole thing. I mean, yes, if for conservation efforts, like if you seriously are keeping an endangered species in a breeding program to try to restore and recover the species, or perhaps that there's no safe environment out there left for them in the wild anymore, that's fine. I get that. If they are animals that were rescued from private collections, or they were injured somehow and can't be released into the wild, or they have a genetic disorder like albinism that I mentioned before that makes it so they wouldn't survive in the wild, then fine, I get that, and that's what we should focus on. But just like, oh, you know what, we're gonna breed, all these elephants and we're just gonna keep them in captivity is bad. It's bad for the animal, like the well-being of the animal. That's just my opinion. You can give your opinion down below. Let me know what you think about keeping whales in captivity. And please remember to be kind. Take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, so thank you so much for sticking with me. Appreciate everybody who hung out. We've had a pretty good turnout all day. I'm glad that people were wanting to show some love this morning. I was needing it. So it's been a rough week. I appreciate every one of you, and I hope to see you back here again next week. Also, there's Java and Jugs on Monday morning. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not, but I'm going to try to. And on Wednesday evening, we'll do the premiere for our Week in Weird, and then Friday evening we do the premiere for CrypticCorner. And then we'll be right back here Saturday morning. So appreciate you. Please remember to be kind. Take care, and we will see you next time.